Hello, this is Over and Over and Over Again. We're live, and this is the Arsenal versus Everton pre-match warm-up show. Hello, how are you doing? I'm Richard. Welcome back to my channel Over and Over and Over Again. So we're live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, and also as well it will be going out on audio as well on Anchor and Spotify. So thanks everybody for tuning in. If you haven't done so already, please come over to YouTube and subscribe to the channel. Give it a like as well if you're going to enjoy the show. We're going to be looking ahead, obviously, to tomorrow's game. It makes a change to actually have a game to talk about everything that's gone on this week, but obviously we can't not talk about a few other incidents as well that's gone on over the last sort of 6 or 7 days, and we will kind of get into that as well. So there's lots to get through. I'm not going to be here on my own. I've got some nice guests joining me as usual, so it's going to be good. So what I'll do is I'll get the guests involved straight away. First of all, of course, he's our resident panelist on the show. Of course, we're always a pleasure to have him back on. Of course, it's Melvyn. How you doing, Melvyn? You all right?
Yeah, fine, thanks. Fine, thanks. Seriously, I forgot all about this game.
Yeah, well,
forgot about it.
We've all been distracted, haven't we, by events elsewhere. So it's maybe good to have a game to maybe think about, actually, to take our mind off all the other stuff that's been going on, which hasn't been a lot of fun, has it, this week, if we're totally honest. No. And also, as well, we've got a special guest joining us from the opposition for this particular game. She's been, I've seen her around a bit on a few other channels. Good to have her finally on. It's Everton Rose. How you doing, Rose? You all right?
Hi, no, I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
No problem at all. It's a pleasure. Hope you enjoy the show. I mean, I suppose we have to start with the one and only thing that's been on everybody's mind all week, really, I suppose. And I'll be really interested, actually, obviously, you being a fan of a club that wasn't involved in all the nonsense that's gone on this week, particularly a club like Everton, who traditionally have got a great history in English football and one of the biggest clubs historically. And I guess it's a good opportunity maybe to get your opinion on it all. I mean, I'm assuming that you wouldn't have been supporting it, but how did you feel about all that when it came out on Sunday?
It wasn't really a shock. Like, this has been on the cards for ages. I mean, last season it was Project Big Picture. This season, Super League. I find the timing like really strange when you've got, is it 3 or 4 English clubs in semi-finals of European competitions. And then they announced that they want to break away. But I wasn't really surprised. For me, it was just kind of money versus money. You know, you've got UEFA and FIFA who are very corrupt, and then you've got now the clubs that are wanting to bump up their revenue, because I think genuinely those 6 teams now, like you've seen this season, are not guaranteed Champions League football. With the emergence of West Ham this season, Leicester, you know, the Premier League is getting very competitive in the top 6, top 8. Hopefully Everton can break through next year. And so for me, I saw it as kind of a money grab for these, quote, elite. I mean, how Tottenham get there, I've got no idea. I think Daniel Levy is an excellent, you know, marketer. Like, he's great at marketing his club. Like you say, nowhere near Everton, or even like you could compare them to Forest. Like Forest have won European trophies, and you know,
Aston Villa's another one.
Villa, you know. So for me, I just saw it as a money grab. I wasn't surprised because, and I wasn't surprised with kind of the leaders of United and you know Liverpool as well. I'm not really surprised, but I think the owners just. Like, I feel like the owners that don't come to games, they just really don't understand football, and they want it to be like the NBA and the NFL, where you can pick up a club and move it 100 miles. It's just not going to happen with these fans, or even thousands of miles if you talk about the Super League, you know, with international. But Yeah. For me, my biggest issue though was the closed shop aspect of pretty much no promotion, no relegation. I know they said there was spots for other teams, but for me that just takes away the whole competitive element. You won't get a Leicester City, you won't get a Bournemouth with a stadium of 7,000 getting promoted into the Premier League and staying like they did. So yeah, not for me. Not for me.
No, I mean, I think that pretty much echoes every football fan on the subject, and unfortunately, our club has got embroiled in it quite heavily with being one of these so-called founder members, and luckily the right things happened and it's not gone ahead. I mean, I don't read too much into the fact that we withdrew. I think that the whole tournament finished and there were so many problems that everybody withdrew. We make that decision ourselves, so we don't like this now. And some of the stuff that's been coming out of the club over the last couple of days is just mental, really. But I mean, Melvyn, did you hear much about that? Obviously, Josh Kroenke spoke today, didn't he, at that fans forum? Have you seen too much on that? Have you read the quotes? What are your thoughts on that initially?
I haven't seen a lot, and to be honest with you, I'm not interested in what he says. The mask has slipped. We were sure what they were like anyway. And now, like I said the other day, you know, a lot of fans had to go at Arsenal fans for being moaners. And we have to go at our owner for not doing this and not doing that. Well, now you know what it's all about. He's told the world what it's really about. And I've got no interest to listen. I don't believe it anyway. If he told me good morning, I'd fall asleep. So I just got no interest at all what he says. It'll be promises and this, that, and the other. But you know as well as I do, if they can do it next year, they will do it next year. But if they got to rub a few, grease a few palms in the right, they will do it. Qatar did it. I'm sure the Six could do it.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to look at today, or was it yesterday, that UEFA released the details of the new format for the Champions League from 2024, which is basically a European Super League anyway. I mean, it's crazy that they were so against that one and they've actually produced one of their own. It's just, I mean, I think as Rose said before, it's just money and money, isn't it? That's all it's about. Definitely. Nobody cares about football. Nobody cares about the fans. And that's been obvious this week. And if anybody thinks that the fan protests have been the reason why all this has been changed, is delusional, because it's nothing to do with that. They don't care. There's going to be protests at the Emirates tomorrow by the look of it, protesting against the owners, which I can understand why people want to do that. And that's great. But it's going to make no difference. They don't care. They don't care if 100,000 people turned up outside the ground saying Kroenke out there. If they want to sell, they'll sell when it's right for them, for their business. They're not going to sell just because a few fans don't like it, because worldwide, there'll be plenty of fans that support what Kroenke's doing. There'll be plenty of worldwide fans that support the European Super League, because they don't have to, it doesn't really affect them, does it? They're not going to games and they watch it on TV and stuff like that. So it's probably a good thing for them. And that's what it was designed for anyway. But the fans are going to turn up at the ground. They're the fans that matter. They're the ones who it affects the most. But they don't care because there's not enough of them, I guess, probably. We got a few comments in the chat. Steve, the Misfit there, says, big up, gents and Everton Rose. Hope you're all good. Yep, we're not too bad once we get back to playing football. And he says, don't be mean to Tottenham. They have an Audi Cup like the one in my car used for coffee. Yeah, no, exactly. That's about all they have got. But fair enough. And Gary's in the chat as well from DWTT. Make sure you check his channel out as well. He says, hello, Richard, Melvyn and Rose. Welcome to the show, Rose. Yep, indeed. First time on. And Steve says again, most of what he spewed was crap, such as that involvement in this fiasco. Yeah, he talked about Josh Kroenke there. We were neck deep in the planning of this. Yeah, we were, quite clearly. I just like Rose there, which is cool. Yeah.
Sorry.
Sorry. Yeah, go on, carry on. Yeah, go on, Melvyn.
When you're talking about it's nothing to do with the fans, it's 100% nothing to do with the fans. Arsenal, if they got this deal done, could afford to wrap the Emirates in cling film, never had another person through the door, and they would still make a fortune. And that's what the bottom line is. They don't care. If another Arsenal supporter doesn't go to the Emirates, they wouldn't care. Unless it means selling a few. It doesn't even mean selling shirts. They don't have to sell shirts. They don't do this still. They don't have to do anything. It would be right in their lap. It's so. And also, like, go back to Everton, right? I've been watching football quite a bit, and for me, Everton is one of the clubs that should always be in the top division. It's I grew up with Everton, the Balls of this world and Harveys and all that, and the Andy Gray team, that team as well, with the Howard Kendall's team. Newcastle's another team. Newcastle's nowhere as successful as Everton over the past. But for me, Newcastle should always be in the top division. It's something I've grown up with. And to turn your back on, and there's other clubs as well, to turn your back on clubs like Everton and Newcastle and go, You're not good enough. Just get away. Sorry about that. You know, we'll see you when we want to see you. I think it's so disrespectful to everybody in the game. You know,
Yeah,
I mean, I'm talking like that as an Arsenal supporter. I'm embarrassed. I am embarrassed. Nothing to do with, I'm going to do with me. I didn't make a decision, but I'm still embarrassed.
Yeah, no, I agree.
This is the thing that, like, oh, sorry.
No, go on, carry on, Rose. Yeah.
No. But this is the thing. This is what I said. I said tomorrow's game, if our players don't show a bit more fight, you know, I think we saw it with was it Leeds? Yeah, Leeds played Liverpool, didn't they?
Yeah.
You know, they were at them. And I feel like you're going to create some rivalries that probably weren't there before, like everybody versus the Super League 6, you know, and tomorrow, if we just stroll around, I'll be fuming with them because, you know, it's like saying, well, we know Arsenal are below us, just still below us. But, you know, we're better than you. So, know your place. And, you know, if that can't get the players up, then I don't think anything will, like, in terms of an Everton perspective. So, yeah. I think it'll be interesting.
It's going to be. Yeah, I mean, it's. I suppose it's not really the fault of the players or the fans or the manager or anything like that. But I understand there is obviously ill feeling towards these 6 clubs, which from everybody else, which I kind of understand why. I mean, I would probably feel the same if, you know, we weren't one of the 6 and we were playing one of the 6 this week. You know, it must be. I can understand the feeling behind it, and I suppose it's. Let's just hope that it doesn't sort of roll over into more than it needs to, because obviously this isn't. I say that it's not the fans that fault. All Arsenal fans that I know are totally against the idea, and all the fans of all the other big 6 clubs that I've spoke to are against it as well. We've got some in the chat actually from the 1892 Reds podcast called Liverpool Fans. They're on this channel a few weeks ago. He says there, yes, Rose, no rest for the wicked. Hope you're okay. Richard and Melvyn, hope you guys are good. Yeah, we're all well as well. And he said, come on, Arsenal, do us a favour. Can't let Everton finish above us. We won't get the end of it. Well, I mean, we need to do ourselves a favour because Everton are just above us in the table. So it's important to us as well. But yes, obviously it will help you out as well, I guess. We'll get onto the game in a little while. Obviously, a lot to talk about as well, not just football this week. I mean, it's been a distraction, hasn't it? I think, and I don't know whether it's been a good distraction or not. It stopped me worrying about how terrible we've been this season overall, and how terrible the game was last weekend, and which may be a good thing. I don't know, but
last weekend. Sorry, I've forgotten. Seriously.
Yeah, we actually had a game. I know. It seems like about a month ago.
I remember.
We did actually play. It was only on Sunday. I know, and it's only what's it, Thursday now?
Genuine. My brain's gone. Who was it?
Yeah.
Who was it?
Fulham.
Who did we play?
Fulham.
We played Fulham.
Oh, Fulham, yeah. Oh, my God. Yeah, we nicked it in the last minute.
Yeah, it was a terrible game. And
that game's gone from my brain. I think if I record it, it would delete it.
Well, it's probably just as well, because it wasn't a great game, was it?
God. Fulham, of course it was. Fulham.
Yeah. Nitesh there, the crazy goon is in the chat. He says he would like to thank Usmanov for signing our Deadwood. Hopefully he can sign a few more. We need to offload them. Yeah, that's a good point, actually. That's fair enough. Obviously, we know where Usmanov currently resides as well, so that's interesting. And Pete there in the chat, where he says, what kind of football format doesn't have relegation? That's one of the many reasons we call it sport, teams competing to stay up. Exactly. That's exactly what sport is, isn't it? You've got to have a competition and winners and losers. And I know with kids sport, they don't like to have winners and losers anymore, but you can't have it in professional sport, can you? You've got to have winners and losers. That's what it's all about.
Well, not too much. The thing you have, Rose, how many times has Everton won the top division?
Oh gosh, put me on the spot there.
Like twice in the
I think it's 8.
Well, in the 8 or 9, I think. Yeah, 8 or 9.
Is it more than 6? Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely more than 6. Yeah.
How many times has Spurs won it? 2.
Yeah, 2. Yeah.
2, isn't it? 2 times. Yeah, ridiculous.
2 years ago.
It's the qualification that gets me.
Yeah.
Pete says 9 there. He says 9. 9 times. Yeah, that sounds about right.
It just doesn't. It's just beggars belief. You know, 9 times top division. Tottenham twice. I would have Tottenham.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more to do with if we're honest. I think when you look at the clubs that's kind of got invited into it from England, it looks like it's the clubs that's been playing Champions League or European football consistently over recent years. That's all. It's not to do with history. You know, I know they said it was, but it isn't clearly, because if it was to do with history, Man City and Chelsea wouldn't have been in it, would they? Because their history compared to 7 or 8 other clubs in England is nowhere near the same. So nothing to do with history. It was just literally to do with teams that's been playing in Europe in recent years, and that's literally all it was. And it's, those clubs, as Rose said before, trying to safeguard that for them and for nobody else, and it's just, that's completely wrong. And luckily this has been put on hold. It's going to come back. I think we know it is. It almost has in this new Champions League format anyway, although I suppose at least you do qualify for that to a certain degree. But obviously the more clubs you have in it, you're going to get more of the big rich clubs getting in it as well, aren't you? Because that's how it's going to work. You're not going to get a lot more small clubs competing in it, because they're going to be the ones that's going to finish in the bottom of that league and get knocked out straight away anyway. So it's going to be a closed shop to a certain degrry anyway. Pete says it's actually more than Tottenham and Chelsea combined, 9 titles. Yeah, no, it is, exactly, because Tottenham have won 2 and Chelsea have won 6. So, and, there you go. So we know it's not about history, do we? Which quite obvious.
And also,
if it was, it would have... No, go on.
Sorry. Also, Richard, people forget that in the when Everton won the league twice, they couldn't play in Europe because of the Liverpool situation. And Everton then were a fantastic team. They could have possibly won it once or twice, because they had a really good team there. Yeah, so they're unlucky there as well.
Peter Reid and Andy Gray up front, and that was a great Everton team. I remember playing against them a few times, and really good side, And that was I mean, we missed out on playing in the European Cup actually as well, didn't we? A couple of times, because we would have been in Europe as well because of all that. So it was difficult. I mean, you can imagine now, can't you, if there was no English clubs allowed in Europe for 5 years, there'd be, I don't know what would happen actually. They would definitely start their own league, wouldn't they, if that was going to be the case? Because it seems like European football's taken on, to me, far too much importance actually. To me, what's important is your 38 games in the league. I don't care if we're in Europe or not at all. Yes, financially, the clubs need to be in Europe to get the money. I understand that. But from a fan's perspective, I wouldn't care if we wasn't in Europe, because it's those 38 games and the FA Cup and, playing Cheltenham away on a Tuesday night or something in the League Cup or something. That's what football's about, isn't it? That's what it's always been about. And to try and change it to make the European League more important, to me, is ridiculous. So I don't support that.
But it's already so important. I was just going to say, it's already, people now field second 11s for the FA Cup and Carabao Cup.
Yeah, they do,
the Carling Cup. Even I'm maybe a little bit younger than you two, but the Carling Cup, was what it was when I was growing up. It was a real, it was another chance to win a trophy. But now that's just nothing like to the top 6 and the top 8. Like we just. His teams just, don't even bother with it. And what my kind of issue is when this Super League comes in, I think that's what's going to happen to the Premier League. They're going to play Burnley away. Well, Man City will play their bench and their youth.
It does already, doesn't it? Yeah. When there's a big Champions League game, Man City will rotate their team. We'll rotate our team maybe in between. We've got the 2 legs coming up against Villarreal. We'll rotate our team for the game in between. We'll play a weaker team in the Premier League because we're prioritising. Yeah, it's a semi-final. You can maybe understand it, but even earlier in the competitions, clubs do it. They've done it for years. You're right, and that to me, I don't like that. I always think try and play your strongest team in as many games as you can and try and win everything. And don't prioritise one thing over another. Winning a trophy is winning a trophy, whatever it is. You ask Tottenham this weekend, they're playing in the League Cup final. They're going to love to win that. You know what I mean? And because that's what football's about. It's about winning trophies. Obviously, I hope they don't, clearly, but it's quite it's what it's all about. Peter there says he was named after Peter Reid, our best player back then. Apparently, no, he definitely was. He was a fantastic player, Peter Reid.
We were after Peter Reid. We sold Liam Brady, and the rumour was that Peter Reid, he was at Bolton at the time.
Yeah,
he was going to come to the Arsenal. What a shame he didn't. Going back to UEFA, I listened to a pod today, and they made such a good point. UEFA, right? That we've taken about being the wonderful thing that they are. They don't invest in any players. They don't own any players. They don't sign any contracts. They cannot lose any money like the owners of the football clubs can. And yet, they're the guys calling the tune, right? It doesn't sound right, does it? They've got it on a plate. It's handed to them. All they've done, in a simplest way, UEFA are the middlemen. They don't actually buy or sell the goods. They just put the buyer and seller together.
Yeah. No, exactly. Yeah, why are they allowed to control everything when they haven't got to deal with the other side? No, you're absolutely right. I totally agree with that. And the 1892 Red podcast there says, Rose, if we finish below you I'll wear an Everton shirt at the end of the season. That'd be good, actually. If he wears an Everton
That'd be
shirt,
really good.
that would be quite funny to see. So actually, I hope we maybe lose tomorrow, so that you finish above him, and then we can get that on the go. That would be quite funny. And Steve the Misfit there says we're not good enough to not rotate the team. Well, no, I agree. I think everybody needs to rotate, and I think that's always happened to a certain degree. You can't play the same 11 players every week. It's just how much rotation you do and where you put your priorities, isn't it? You know, for me, you should always play your strongest team in the Premier League. And if you have to rotate in the other games, 1 or 2 players if you need to. But I don't know. I think the days like that have gone. Just no one does it anymore. And again, for the 1892 Reds podcast, there says they used to like me, but I'm sure it's all a bit of fun, isn't it? You know, I'm sure you'll finish above Everton anyway. But there you go. We'll see what happens. Actually, why don't we get on to the game actually tomorrow, because that's what it's about, and it's nice to maybe move away from all the other stuff that we've had to worry about. So if we start with a little bit of this. So previous meetings, obviously, Arsenal and Everton, it's one of the most played fixtures in English football history, going back from 1904, I think the first game was between the clubs. So, 216 times we've played Everton. So obviously there's loads of memories. Melvyn remembers most of the games, I'm sure. Is there any in particular that maybe stand out for you, Melvyn, games against Everton?
Quite a few, actually. The 1969-70 season, the first game of the season, we played at home to Everton. And they beat us 1-0. John Hurst was the guy, centre-half, scored the goal. And I remember sitting there, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. They had Ball, Kendall, and Harvey in midfield. And midfield didn't. I know it was only 1-0, and midfield did not touch the ball. And they won the league that season, Everton. I mean, it's no shock because they were unbelievable. I know it was the first game of the season, but you could tell this team, they're a little bit special. Listen, I thought before the game we're going to beat first game of the season. Everyone's looking good. It's summer. You know, this is it. You're always happy, hopeful for the first. But after about 5 minutes, you think, hold on a minute, this is not right. And funnily enough, nearly 12 months later, we played Everton again. This time at Goodison Park, first game of the season, and we drew 2-2. They were the champions. And then I didn't see the game. I listened to it on the radio. That's like one of those things that you can't see Rose, just listen to it radio. And what happened was that I had a colour radio, didn't I? No, I listened to the game and I thought Everton was so good then. I thought if we can draw away to Everton, we must have half a chance of doing well this season. And obviously we did. I remember also listening on the radio, a bit sad as well. We played in 1981. We played during the FA Cup at Goodison Park. And the idea was years ago, if you played a decent team away from home, you did everything to not lose. You drew. When you got back home, the chances were on a replay, 9 times out of 10, you'd beat whoever the opposition was. That was every team did that, right? Anyway, I think we had a new left back called Kenny Sampson. He scored an own goal. And then I think you got a goal a few minutes later. I felt it was horrible. I remember exactly where I was listening to it. I thought, that was a sad one for me.
Yeah.
This is a strange
and we
one.
won away the week after that. Melvyn, the week after that, we won away at Goodison in the league. We lost in the FA Cup, and then the following week we won 2-1. Yeah.
I don't remember that. I got only go.
Yeah. Typical. You lose a cup game. It's more important at that time because we'd been in the 3 years in a row, the final. We lose to Everton in the third round. In the following week, we go and win in the league. That's happened a couple of times, actually. It seems the way the fixtures sometimes work, isn't it? But anyway, that was...
Well, years ago, clubs used to play like within 2 days of each other, home and away, over Christmas.
Yeah, they did, yeah.
And sometimes one team would win 7-0 and lose the other game 3-0. It's like, wow, it's the same 11. What are you doing? Anyway, that's
crazy.
In 1982, we beat Everton 3-0 at Arsenal. Alan Sunderland scored a hat-trick, right?
Yeah, I remember that.
That was, I don't know, was it a League Cup?
Yeah, it was a League Cup, yeah, when Sunderland scored a hat-trick it was, yeah. League Cup game.
Right. I remember the game, I can't remember if it was a League Cup, but I thought, just think about it, 2 years later, Everton were world beaters. And we blew them away 3-0. You used to think, like, I mean, the next season we beat them as well. 83, we beat them as well. I think we beat them twice on the trot, but it wasn't a double. It was like 2 separate home and away seasons.
Yeah.
Anyway, but 84-5 was when Everton were unbelievable. They were great to watch. I mean, they were the team, like, if Match of the Day was on, whoever Arsenal played, you'd watch the Arsenal game, obviously, but you were waiting for the Everton game to come on. Because the football they played was unreal. It was, they had 11, it was like legs 11. It was like every player knew their job. They had a specialist in every position that played as a team. I mean, Andy Gray wasn't in the first team, I don't think, that won the league, but he was in the second one. And it was just that they Sheedy on one side, Stevens, was it? Or Stephen? It was.
Yeah, Stevens, yeah. Yeah, Trevor Stevens.
Both of them.
Yeah.
Two with similar names. One was a right back, and one was Trevor Stephen and Stephen. I mean, they were just great to watch. The centre half was with the Welsh guy. What was his name? The captain.
Ratcliffe.
Oh,
Kevin Ratcliffe.
Hard as nails. Harder. Yeah. I mean, I love Liverpool. I loved Everton, and it was brilliant. I saw that documentary 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Howard's Way. See Howard's Way?
Yeah.
How good was that? Absolutely, it's one of the best documentaries of football I've ever seen. But it's been nostalgic for me, you know. That was a team I was an Arsenal I like watching, and it was like bringing back all the memories of the players and all that. And it's fantastic.
You know that season, Melvin, the 84-85 season. The first game of the season, Everton lost 4-1 at home to Tottenham that season. Went on to win the league.
No, really?
Yeah. In fact, they lost their first 2 games because I think they lost 1-0 away to Chelsea or somebody. Second game, they actually lost their first 2 games. Yeah, 4-1 at home to Tottenham, first game of the season. That was unbelievable, wasn't it? And they went on to obviously didn't lose many more after that, and went on to win the league. Fantastic side. So yeah, I mean that was incredible. That we beat them 1-0 as well at Highbury that season. Charlie Nicholas scored a penalty. But yeah, they didn't lose many games. That was for sure.
But they had a very important game against Tottenham. I don't know what year it was. Out those 2 league title wins. They played at White Hart Lane, and Spurs were not second in the league. It was a midweek game. And I listened to that on the radio as well. And they beat them. Thank God they beat them. Because I think Spurs would have had a challenge had they beaten them at White Hart Lane. But Everton came up trumps and won. I remember that vividly. Obviously, the League Cup. I remember the League Cup 1988.
Semi-final,
Semi-final. We won 1-0 away. I remember Perry Grove's goal gave us every opportunity, and then obviously we won 3-1 in the second leg, and went the final. It was the first final for ages for us. So that was a very big thing for us, that game, to win those 2 games. That was good. And obviously, the 1998 game.
Brilliant.
And obviously the 1998 game that we won the league at. You know, that game, that was a sunshine game. Once we went 1 up, the pressure was off. It was the Overmars game when he scored a couple great goals.
Yeah,
that goal. And Adams, obviously. And it was just an amazing day. And that was the 3rd of May that day, my wife's birthday. So it was all fun and games. It was lovely. I didn't mind that game day at all. Plenty to celebrate that day. That was good. Those are my memories. A bit longer. Time ago.
Yeah,
really
it's fantastic. Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's been a lot of games between the clubs. What about yours, Rose? I guess yours will be a little bit more modern, perhaps, than the some of Melvin's there. You probably weren't born for half of them, I would have thought.
I think one of my youngest memories, was the Rooney goal. So, like, when we had him the first time, obviously, and just, like, he just picked it up and just drove. And that was when your defence was, like, world class, and, like, you had Wenger at his height. And I remember Rooney just like powering past and scoring. I don't know I can't remember if it was a draw or probably a loss that game, but I remember that goal. That's one of my earliest memories.
You beat us. That was you beat us.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, so that one's a fun memory, and mainly mine, I think, are at home. Like, you know, I think we have a much better home record against you guys in recent years, and I think my favourite is probably the 3-0. In the season that we had Martinez for the first season, and Lukaku was on loan, and Barkley. It was about probably 2013, 2014. I think we beat 3-0. And that, you know, I think that one for me is probably my favourite one.
From the right.
He
Yeah,
was a real.
That
was disappointing.
I hate to say it was a very good goal.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, we got blitzed that day completely.
Yeah.
But Everton, I mean, they had a decent team then actually. So Lukaku scored lots of goals, and they were a good Everton side then actually, because we'd knocked you out of the FA Cup a few weeks before, I seem to remember, and then obviously we went to Goodison and we got absolutely smashed that day. It's happened a few times actually over the years, but yeah. But I mean, obviously Everton's record at Arsenal, they've only won once in the last 36 visits to Arsenal away, and that was in 1996, the last one. So out of the last 36, that's an incredible run, isn't it?
Madness. For a big team like Everton.
Ridiculous.
I know it's an unbelievable record, isn't it, that we've got at home, and that includes cup games as well. We've played 3 cup games in that length of time as well, and won all them as well. So yeah, it's unbelievable actually how you wouldn't imagine, would you, like you said, a club like Everton with all the the great teams that they've had have only won once away at Arsenal in 36 years. It's just unbelievable. They've actually won 2 in a row before that. That was in obviously that great team in the mid-80s, won 2 seasons in a row at Highbury. So Peter in the chat there says, his dad says 85-86 was a nightmare when we had Gary Lineker, a nightmare season. Well, I think you came second in the league, didn't you, to Liverpool, won the double. So I guess, and obviously you lost the cup final to them as well. So I can understand why your dad would think it's a nightmare. But any season with Gary Lineker in the team has to be a nightmare anyway, doesn't it? Let's be honest. Although he did score about 40 goals, didn't he? I think, to be fair to him. And Peter again says, first game he ever went to at Goodison was Arsenal, where Rooney scored. Hey, there you go. We just mentioned that before. So that was Peter's first game at Goodison, actually, when Rooney scored that goal. That was a memorable goal for him. When he must have been about 17, was he then, Wayne Rooney? I think when he scored that goal, 16, 17. I think.
16, 16, I think.
Yeah, something like that. And Shane's in the chat there. Good to see you, Shane. He says Tim Cahill, yeah, he was a good player. Always seemed to score against us as well, didn't he, Tim Cahill, I remember. Good in the air, wasn't he? He scored a lot of goals from
the little guy. He was terrific in the air.
Yeah, he was, yeah. He scored the winner against us a few times at Goodison, I seem to remember, actually. He always seemed to get a goal against us.
He was a handful, wasn't he? He was a handful.
Yeah, he was a good player. He was a good player, actually.
Yeah.
He got from Millwall, didn't he? I've seen him on
Millwall,
the telly.
Yeah,
Millwall, yeah. He was at Millwall for a while, and then he came to Everton, yeah. But he's a good pundit on the telly, I think. He's been on a few times. I quite like listening to him. He talks a lot of sense. And he was a good lad as well. So, yeah, that was sort of a few little memories of games. I say there's obviously loads of them because, we've played each other a lot of times. Peter says, thankfully he scored more goals against Liverpool. Oh, well, there you go. That's great to hear because he totally scored a few against us. I know that. He said every time we played against Everton, he seemed to score whenever he played. So good that he scored a few against Liverpool. Actually, there was a game, I don't know if you remember it, Melvyn, at the Emirates where it was snowing and we were losing 2-1 in stoppage time and we got an equaliser. So Everton almost won at the Emirates that year. I think it was 2010. Tom Rosicky scored in the last minute when it was snowing.
Was that the one? Yeah, was that the one where they had a breakaway goal, Everton? Someone ran 50 yards with the ball.
Pienaar. I think it might have been Pienaar,
yeah, that's the game, yeah.
I remember that.
He was a good little player. Well,
Cahill might have scored one of the goals in that game as well, perhaps, for Everton. I can't remember now. He probably did.
They were close to beating us then, obviously.
Yeah, that was probably the closest that they've been actually for a while. Of course, last season's game, Everton scored in the first minute, didn't they? Calvert-Lewin scored. We came back to winning.
That was a mad game.
It was the first half. Was a mad start,
I think they scored the first minute. We scored near half time. I think they scored just before half time or something, just after we scored.
Yeah, we scored 2. Yeah, we scored 2, and then they scored in the stoppage time at the end of the first half. So 2 at half time. And then we scored the first minute in the second half as well, and it was 3-2, and that's how it finished. So,
that was the game. Someone in front of me missed about 2 goals. They left before half time and come back just after half time, and they missed 2 goals. I thought, what do you bother coming to football for?
I know, yeah. So many times, I know. But anyway, I guess, something like queuing up for a pie is more important, isn't it, than watching the game, I suppose. But anyway, I mean,
drinking that lovely tea at £3 a time.
Well, exactly, yeah, nice and cheap as well. So I don't think we can really talk about Arsenal and Everton without mentioning, obviously, Mikel Arteta, obviously a big player for Everton before he came to Arsenal. I mean, what's interesting for me is that it was the same week, wasn't it, that he took over at Arsenal where Ancelotti took over at Everton just before we actually played at Goodison Park, not season just gone, the season before, the 0-0 draw. And I felt at that time that Mikel Arteta was the right fit to be manager of Everton, and Carlo Ancelotti was the right fit to be manager of Arsenal, and it went the other way round. I don't know what I mean. What do you make of that, Rose? I mean, obviously, what have you made of Ancelotti's time first of all, and obviously Arteta as well? I mean, he was a bit of a legend at Everton, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was a fantastic player. Like, I understood him wanting to leave. I think that left a little bit of a sour taste in a lot in some Everton fans' minds. You know, he did win a couple of trophies and won a couple of FA Cups. And yeah, I think we fans we hold a grudge quite obviously. But I definitely thought that Ancelotti would go to you guys and we would get Arteta as more of this is a project where you can build and like rebuild. I didn't think, I think for me Arsenal needed like a strong manager who's done it, like you say, and maybe it was a Chelsea connection that he felt, if he goes to Arsenal, then they won't, even though he won them trophies, they won't really like him anymore. He doesn't tend to, go to clubs with the same city as far as I remember. So I'm delighted that we got him, because I feel like Everton, we have, appointed some really bizarre choices like Marco Silva, and we weren't really in the position to say, okay, let's let you have a go. Like, you see how it's gone for Lampard at Chelsea. Great players, but don't necessarily make good managers. So delighted that we got Ancelotti. Did think that when we didn't have managers at the same time, that you guys would go with Ancelotti and we would get Arteta to rebuild Everton. But yeah, I think really promising signs from Ancelotti. I like our form against the top 6 Super League teams, as they're now called, or ex-Super League teams. Away from home, we beat Spurs, we beat Liverpool, drew with United. Like, we're going in the right direction, but just very frustrating that we're not beating like Leeds at home and Fulham at home and Burnley at home, because I just don't understand. Like, we're so good away, and then home form has been like one of the worst in the league. So yeah, that's my thoughts.
That sounds quite familiar, doesn't it, Melvyn? Not beating Leeds or Fulham or Burnley at home. That sounds familiar, doesn't it? Who else has done that this season, I wonder?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I felt that at that time, Arteta, and even now, actually, I feel as though Arteta would have been the right manager for Everton at that time, and Ancelotti would have probably been better for Arsenal. But having looked at it now, you look at the league table, and actually the two clubs are very, very close together. Is it two or 3 points separate us now, isn't it, at this moment, going into the game tomorrow? So, you could kind of look at it. And I thought Everton had a good summer in the transfer market, actually, buying some good players, obviously, James Rodriguez, probably the main one, and the guy from Watford in midfield, Decore, that I really liked, actually. And I don't know, I felt Everton had a good summer window, but yeah, a great start to the season as well. It hasn't quite worked out, has it? I know you said the home form has been poor, and it has. I mean, we've suffered the same. But I know, you wouldn't imagine you expected Everton to finish in the top 4, but with the start that you had and with the squad that you've got, I'm a little bit surprised that maybe you've fallen away as much as you have. I kind of thought you'd stay in the top 4 this season. I mean, look at maybe Leicester. Everton, for me, have got a stronger squad than Leicester, probably a better manager. Are you a little bit frustrated with how the season's gone?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's just those home wins. Like, I think Newcastle, it's not really even home. It's Newcastle doing the double over us, and it's just like, how does that happen? I don't know. Teams at Southampton, like, we've just failed to beat those teams. I mean, honestly, looking at it now, Everton need to kind of follow this. I would argue the same route as Leicester, because Leicester, for me, have recruited very well. They've paid not very high fees. I mean, I think James Maddison was 19-20 million. They signed Fofana, who seems to be like a top-class centre-back last season, that United apparently now want for 80 million again. So they do, like, they recruit very well. Their scouts are clearly very good. They have been since like the Vardy era and the Mahrez era and Kante and all of them. So I think if Everton can end up like Leicester, which sounds mad to say, thinking 10 years ago they weren't even anywhere near the Premier League, I think Everton need to follow that and say, what are the smart buys? Like, because I think I can't really find a Leicester player that I wouldn't really take. I mean, you've got Tillmans, Ndidi, and Maddison. And I'm thinking, well, that, apart from James, maybe Decore and Alan, I'd have them in like straight away. Like, so I think the recruitment has been smart, but it needs to continue. Like I think for me, we still need 3 or 4 more, because our first 11 is good, but when you take James out, when you take Doucouré out, it's just back to, you know, Iwobi and Gomez, who for me, they're just far too inconsistent. So yeah.
Iwobi's not inconsistent, Melvyn. Come on, Melvyn, back me up.
No, he's consistently poor, isn't he?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. He's a 4 out of 10.
You're talking about Leicester, Rose, about how they buy well, but don't they sell well?
Yeah,
they get enormous amounts of money for their players who aren't as great as the teams buying them think they are. 80 million for centre half, 50 million for Chilwell. I mean, the list goes on and on. It's fantastic.
But then, it's mad because then they signed Castagna, who nobody knew anything about. He's come in flying, and then Justin, you know, academy graduate. So yeah, I think Leicester are, you know, very, you know, they're being run well. Let's say.
Yeah, the Ajax of English football, aren't they, at the moment?
Yeah. No, I mean, they are really well-run club, Leicester. The only thing, maybe, if I was a Leicester fan, it would frustrate me is the fact that they get these great players cheap and they have to sell them on, so they can't really build a really great legacy there. They have to keep rebuilding every couple of years, don't they? Because they sell their best players on to make the money that they need, and then they have to start again, which must be a little bit frustrating, actually, I would have thought, for Leicester, because, you know, you can see that they've got the potential to be a really top team and win a lot of big trophies. So, you know, it would be interesting to see how that develops. But yeah, that would frustrate me maybe if I was a Leicester fan. But yeah, they are a very well-run club that's come from, like you said there, Rose, you know, 10 years ago, who would have thought that they would be up the top there, competing in the positions that maybe clubs like Arsenal and Everton and others should be competing for. And we're not. You know, it just goes to show, doesn't it? If you're well-run, you can have success. And that was another reason why that whole European Super League thing was rightly binned off, because it kind of stops clubs from being able to do that, doesn't it, really, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, I just kind of, you know, obviously Arteta's linked more with Manchester City, isn't he? Because he was beyond Pep. Every time, you know, Arsenal play Man City, it's always Arteta and Pep, Arteta and Pep. But for me, and he even spoke about it today, you can clearly see Arteta's got a big affinity with Everton, because he did play a lot of his career there, didn't he? You know, and it's probably his, I would say Everton are more his second club, if you like, than Man City are, really. But people tend to forget that. And yet, for me, it's his, you know, I always associate, obviously, before he came to Arsenal, if you'd mentioned Mikel Arteta, even though he played for other clubs in the past, like Rangers and stuff, you always thought of Everton, because that was who he was associated with. And even now, you probably associate him more as a player with Everton, because he only played for Arsenal about 3 years, didn't he, until he got injured. And, you know, that's why he needs to be Everton's manager. I'm sending his CV in.
He was player of the year a few times as well, wasn't he, Rose?
Yeah, no, he was a top player. No, you know, I can't take anything away from him. Like the goals he scored, the link-up play. You know, the best Moyes teams for me, when you had Arteta, Cahill, Baines, you know, just Coleman as well. Like that was a very good team. I think it's a real shame that team just didn't win anything. I mean, we got to a few finals, lots of semi-finals, just like couldn't get over the line because Chelsea was so strong and United at that time. Like it just wasn't meant to be. But yeah, it was definitely a good football team to watch, because I think Moyes gets a lot of stick from Everton fans now, again with the way that he left and everything. But when Manchester United come calling like that, you know, yes, it didn't work out for him, but he was always going to take it. He'd taken us really, I think, as far as he could in terms of Europe and everything. But those teams were actually, he gets like criticized for being defensive. Like you're seeing at West Ham now, Moyes teams, you know, when he gets the players that he needs, they do attack. You know, they do score goals, and some of the attacking sides that he created, you know, with that Baines and PNR and, you know, just, I think going back to Leicester, just very smart recruitment. I think back then we would get a Fellaini out of nowhere, or, you know, a Cahill from Millwall who just is, you know, a really hard worker that just can score goals. But now, you know, we're kind of, I don't like that we've moved away from that, where we signed Delph and Iwobi because they've been at the bigger clubs, but that, you know, they're just, for me, they're just not the right, you know, buy for Everton. And I think I like us to go to the Championship and the lower Premier League clubs and take, you know, their best player and see if it works out, rather than go to Man United and go and get Rojo, or just. No,
I agree.
We've spoken about this, haven't we, Richard?
Yeah, I've said that a lot. We should
about
stick
this.
to the lower teams. Peter says there that kind of recruitment strategy at Leicester is like how Moyes worked with us in terms of recruitment, and now he's doing the same thing at West Ham. No, exactly. I mean, I agree with you. Moyes has got a lot of stick, actually, not just from Everton fans. I think he gets a lot of stick in general, and he's just shown he did a great job at Everton for a number of years, got him into the top 4, didn't he, and stuff like that. And he's doing a great job at West Ham. It just shows he is a good coach. He knows what he's doing, and he can get results. And he's very underrated, I think, actually. I'm not sure I'd want him at Arsenal particularly, but you can't argue with his record and what he's done, and I'd say obviously what he's doing now as well at West Ham. So massive credit to David Moyes. Yeah, it didn't work out at Man United, but when you're following Alex Ferguson, you've not got much chance. Let's be honest. It's who would have wanted to take that job on. So fair play to him for giving it a go. And maybe if he'd been given a bit more time, who knows? He didn't even have a season, did he? He might have been able to get it right. Who knows? But he wasn't given a chance, I suppose. But there's a good comment here, actually, from Shane. He says, Richard and Melvyn, can you explain to Rose to cherish Goodison Park before moving to a new stadium? No, exactly, yeah. I mean, if I could turn back time, I wouldn't have moved from Highbury. I knew we had to. But, yeah, I mean, Goodison Park, I know the away end is not the best, and, it's still got wooden seats and all that kind of stuff. It needs a lot of TLC maybe, but it is one of the great old stadiums in English football, isn't it? And it's going to be a shame when it's no longer. There's been too many of the great grounds have disappeared. And it'll be a shame. I mean, what do you feel about that, Rose? You kind of wanting Everton to move, or would you rather stay where you are?
I think it's needed. Like, I love Goodison, like you say, old-fashioned stadium, a lot of history there, and yeah, going to Goodison, it's just, I love it. Like it just feels like as soon as you get it, it's like a community. Like you're so close to the pitch. 4 walls. I don't like these bowl, stadiums. I'm glad that new stadium's not going to be like that. Because I just think for atmosphere, it just changes it completely. But the new stadium, it looks great. I also think I've spoken about this before, like the regeneration that's going to happen at Goodison. Like we're not just going to sell it to the highest bidder and build flats on it or something. It's going to be like a non-profit charity organization. So the reason that I love Everton as well is just because the community links like so in touch with what that area needs. The stadium will provide 15,000 new jobs, 1.5 billion. Maybe I'm making that figure up, but it's millions, I think, into the economy. And the area needs regeneration. We've got 10,000 on the waiting list for a season ticket, so the demand is there. And so to boost our revenue, I think, it'll be really good. And all the designs, on the waterfront, the stadium, it looks great. So. We've got 3 seasons yet to enjoy Goodison. So
exactly, yeah, and I think it's important, as Jane says there, to make sure that you do enjoy it where you can, because I know the last couple of years at Highbury were quite emotional, really, because you knew it wasn't going to be there anymore, and it's a sad time. But I guess I've seen the plans for the stadium at Everton, and it does look great. But I do feel as though new stadiums do lose the atmosphere, and the old school atmosphere, maybe, which Goodison Park, like Highbury, has always had, and it'd be a shame to maybe lose that. But that's progress, I guess, isn't it? I suppose we can't halt progress, unfortunately. Holly's in the chat there. She said, "Good evening, hello, Rose." Obviously, I'm guessing that's a reference to your work at schools, is it? That you're not asleep. Can you imagine? It must be a tough job, actually, because I know that's what Holly does as well, doesn't she? So, and she said something about obviously your comment before. She said, "Sounds a lot like Spurs." Yeah, probably. So we've got Peter's back in the chat. He says, Arteta's affection for Everton comes from Moyes. He built the Dogs of War, not the best quality, but the team always had a togetherness under Moyes. No, exactly. Yeah, they did. And they got good results as well, as we saw. Shane says there, he says, Rosie's seen you on another stream, and you got Coleman from Silga. Of course, he's Irish, Shane, so he'll be well aware of the history there, which is good.
Player he's a brilliant player, isn't he?
Coleman over the years, what a player he's been. Yeah, I think he's maybe reaching.
I'll take him tomorrow. I'll still take him tomorrow. Yeah, I think he's a terrific player.
Oh, he is. I just think he's
got a couple of years left.
He's reaching.
Young for us.
Well, yeah, I suppose.
That's young for us, though.
Like David Luiz, maybe. I suppose at the end of his career. Peter says, the only thing Moyes done wrong, in my opinion, is stop playing his pressing plan in games and brings on extra defender. Where's only one goal? Well, yeah, I suppose maybe a little bit of space, I suppose. Peter says he wants to see safe standing in the new stadium. Hope he's brought it to the Premier League when fans finally return. No, exactly. That would be good. That would certainly be a step in the right direction, wouldn't it? Getting safe standing in stadiums. I think Tottenham have it, don't they, in their ground? I don't know if they're allowed to use it, but I think they've got the capabilities of having it, haven't they? In the Tottenham.
That's where they've cut a bit away where the trophy cabinet is. Put it there.
Yeah, that's probably what it is. Yeah, they've got to find a use for something. Use it for something, haven't they? Because they're not going to ever use it for any trophies, are they? So I suppose they need to kind of do what they can. But no, I mean, I do feel that new stadiums do lack something in terms of atmosphere and stuff like that. But like we said, it's progress, and I say just maybe enjoy Goodison where you can. And I'll certainly try and get there at least one more time before, you know, the next couple of years that you're playing there before it goes, because it is a great old stadium. We've had some great memories there over the years as well. So I do like the old stadiums better, but maybe that's just me. If we move on to the game again, if we look at perhaps a little bit of this before we get into the actual game itself. So we've kind of touched on current form a little bit, certainly home form. I think both clubs have suffered at home, but your away form at the minute, Rose, have been really good, hasn't it? I think you're unbeaten in is it no one defeat in 11 away games or something, isn't it, Everton, at the moment?
Yeah, it's really, really good. I think it's a real change because whether it's down to the fans, like whatever you can put it down to, Goodison has not been a fortress this year. Like normally it's a horrible place for teams to go, don't like it. But this season, teams have loved it, honestly. And so away from home, I think, it's again working the other way, that the home teams, you know, haven't got the fans, it's not the same atmosphere. And so we've gone there, you know, on the counter, we're quite dangerous, you know, with the pace of like Richarlison. And then to be honest, Iwobi does work better away from home because he is an outlet, you know, with the likes of James as well and Sigurdsson. When you combine him, then it's not too bad. And so, I think, you know, we go with a solid back four normally away from home. Godfrey's been fantastic. Coleman is in and out because of his age, I think. Luca Dean, very good player as well. So our defense is quite solid, and like we've had some good results, like I said. So I think we've beaten Leicester, Liverpool, Spurs. We've beaten a few of them at home as well. So I'm quietly confident going into this one. I am going to have to head off soon, guys. Sorry, like Holly says, I just got back about 7. I jumped on one podcast and now I'm on this one. I'm quietly confident about this one because that 1996 run, like it has to end at some point. And when I look at your guys' home form, I watched actually the Arsenal-Fulham game because I wanted to see. I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. I was thinking, the Arsenal that even I grew up with was quick. For, you know, you can say what you want about Wenger in the last few years. I know it went very sour, but you know, attacking football, you probably score 3 and concede 4 on a bad day. But on a good day, you know, you're just attacking football, passing through the opponents. I didn't see any of that. I just saw nothing. Like in Fulham, we're just comfortable, just you know, organised defensively, and so it does give me some hope going into the game tomorrow that maybe we can do the same, but get over the line with a win.
No, I mean, I kind of agree. And, you know, you only saw one game. We've had to put up with this for quite a long time. So imagine how we feel. I've suffered that every single week. You're lucky you just got it once. And obviously you'll see it tomorrow as well, because no doubt we'll play exactly the same tomorrow as well, I would have thought. I mean, your away form worries me. And like you said, you've had some great away wins at some of the big sides as well. So that does concern me. But the only thing I think that kind of gives me hope is your terrible record away at Arsenal. Really, that's about the only thing I'm clinging on to. But having said that, this is the season where we've lost to Burnley. They hadn't won at Arsenal for years. We lost at home to Wolves. They hadn't won away at Arsenal for years. Leicester, the same. So all these records have been tumbling. And Fulham almost won for the first ever time away at Arsenal last week. You know, a 96-minute goal. So, you know, these records have been falling constantly this season. So I wouldn't be surprised if another one finishes tomorrow, but hopefully not. But you're away from it. I think it's only Chelsea. You're only away defeat, isn't it? This year, actually, I think it is, isn't it?
Chelsea were, and that was Tuchel, like, had just come in and had gotten sorted. So I think if we had Lampard, I think might have had a chance, but no, they were too good, too good that day.
It's always a tough game against Chelsea anyway, certainly for us. But no, I mean that does worry me. I mean, just before you go then Rose, give a score prediction first of all. What are you thinking?
I'm going to go with a 2-1 actually, because you guys still, I know that you guys have injuries in Aubameyang and Lacazette and Tierney. You know, that also gives me quite a boost because Aubameyang loves playing against us, always scores. Lacazette as well. I feel like they're always scoring. But I think without those guys, like Tierney's been fantastic for you as well. I think that's a real loss. I know Xhaka's been filling in and not doing a bad job, but Tierney gives you that attacking threat going forward.
Yeah,
I still know that you have Saka and Martinelli. Like, you know, I really rate those two. I think they're good players. Hopefully they're on the bench because I know Arteta does bench them every now and then. So hopefully they don't start. But yeah, no, they're two players that I really, really rate. And I do see you scoring because our defence in the last game against Tottenham was just honestly a shambles. So hopefully Carlo's got them sorted out. But my prediction is 2-1 Everton win for the first time in 26 years.
Actually, James Rodriguez in the chat actually, so he must be ready for the game tomorrow. I'm sure he is. So hopefully you're not very fit though, because I don't want you to play well. But anyway, is Calvert-Lewin playing? Because he's not been playing lately. Has he been injured? Is he fit now?
Yeah, he's back for tomorrow. We think so. That's good.
What do you expect, Richard? Of course, you're going to be back tomorrow.
Well, of course he'll be back. Yeah, obviously he'll be back against us. Everyone's back against us. You can guarantee if a player's injured, they'll be fit to play Arsenal. So yeah, I suppose we shouldn't be surprised that he plays. Of course, he did score in last season's game as well, didn't he? So obviously he's a massive threat, isn't he? So yeah, no, I mean that scoreline certainly wouldn't be a shock if Everton do win 2-1. Let's hope that from our point of view they don't. But I think if there was fans in the stadium with everything that's gone on this week and Everton were to win, I think there'd be a terrible atmosphere in the ground actually from the Arsenal fans. So yeah, I think it might be. And Rodriguez has said that he's fully fit. Oh, that's a shame. That's a shame. So no doubt you'll have a good game against us as well. So it's good that he's watching the show actually. So that's always nice, isn't it? You know, same Calvert-Lewin's not in as well. We could have a little Everton party maybe. But anyway, this week, Rose, just obviously give your channel a plug as well because I know you do some good stuff on here, don't you?
Yeah, so if you search Everton Rose on YouTube, you can find me there. I'm also on Twitter, which is at Everton Rose YT, and Instagram as well at Everton__Rose. But Richard, no, thank you so much for having me on. Really enjoyed it. Sorry that I have to go now, but yeah.
No problem at all.
Good,
I know you've been busy. It's a busy time when there's games on appearing and popping up on different streams and stuff. So thanks for coming on and giving us your time, and hopefully enjoy the game tomorrow. Not too much, hopefully, we'll see. And Marks has put a comment in there. What was your score prediction, Rose? He just gave it. She said 2-1 to Everton.
2-1.
Obviously, she's going to be wrong, but it was nice of her to.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah. No, thanks for coming on. I know that was good. So enjoy the game tomorrow.
Yeah, and good luck for the rest of the season after tomorrow.
Yeah, and same to you. Yeah, but not too much. We want to finish your project, so not too much. So that was Rose. Of course, Everton Rose. Great to have her on the channel, and good to get an insight into the other team's fans as usual. Mark in the chat there says Tim Cahill was a legend. Of course, he was. He definitely was a fantastic player, as we know. Peter's gone on about the offsides. Actually, we'll go on to that in a little while. Actually, he's made a few comments about the sort of offside and VAR and stuff as well, which we'll come into in a minute. I mean, obviously, in terms of our current formula, Melvyn, at home we haven't won for the last 4 games, and I'm quite worried about that. Can you see much different tomorrow? Do you think we'll approach the game differently tomorrow, or it's an easy excuse to make now, isn't it, with the week that we've had? If we do lose, oh well, the players. None of them teams that's played so far have won, have they? Because Chelsea drew, Liverpool drew. I think they're the only 2 that's played so far, aren't they? So I don't know. What are you thinking about that?
Well, first of all, how disappointing! You just said there's 4 games without a home win, and in December we had 4 or 5 as well, didn't we?
Well, we lost 4 in a row, didn't we?
Yeah, we lost 4 in a row. So that's very, very poor, isn't it? Really. Very poor. It's not good enough.
No.
Well, I think we'll do anything differently. We've got the excuse as well. We've got a European game coming up. That's another excuse you can throw in on the fire. That one. Yeah. So I don't like excuses. Sorry. I mean, you can make an excuse for not winning a game because A, B, or C, but if the players aren't mentally ready, that's no excuse for me. They've got to be ready mentally. They can't. They're a bit slower or a bit off because they've played a few games. But we've got a big enough squad, and if we got to put players in that aren't quite up to it, then they shouldn't be in our squad unless they're very, very young, unless they're like 18 or 19 and they haven't really played for us at all. If players are 24 or 22 over that age, and you bring them in and they're weak, they make us considerably weaker. Should they be in our squad to begin with? And I'm just upset about that. They shouldn't. One or two of these players should make a marked difference to the performance of our team. Sorry, they shouldn't become passengers.
No, I agree, and unfortunately we've had too much of that this season, haven't we? We've got Lewis in the chat there, obviously Everton fan. Hello guys, how you doing, Lewis? Thanks for watching. Hopefully you won't enjoy the game too much tomorrow. And Gunnar 70 as well was in the chat, and he says they're front three: Pepe right, Balogun middle, Martinelli left. I mean, that would be an interesting front three, wouldn't it? Will Arteta be that brave? I'm not sure if he will.
He won't be that brave.
Be Pepe right and Kepa middle, Willian left. I'm not sure if Willian will play. I don't know.
You know as well as I do, the team you want to play and the team he picks are two different things.
Yeah. No, they are. They are.
Certainty.
And sometimes I mean, I've been critical of Arteta's team selections quite often actually, and sometimes they've worked out and sometimes they haven't. But to be fair to him and to be fair to everybody at the club, we don't really know what goes on in training. We don't see the players every day, and he's got more of an idea of who's maybe better prepared for each game, possibly. And sometimes, maybe we don't take those things into account. We pick the players that we think have played well in the last few games or whatever it is. So I don't know. I do have a little bit of sympathy in that sense. But having said that, you've seen some of the crazy team selections that he's made, and you have to scratch your head and think, what on earth is he doing? And when it doesn't work, it makes it even more of a problem, doesn't it, I suppose? Lewis has said there, we've only got Decore and Gambin out injured. All the others are finally back, including Calvert-Lewin, Mina, and Bernard. Well, that's nice, isn't it? That you've got a full squad to play as, which is great. So yeah, Decore actually, I've noticed he's not been playing. I didn't realise he was injured because I really rate Decore. I think he's a great player, and obviously it's good for us. He's not fit, but he must be a bit of a miss for you guys because I know he's decent. And Louis says, and there won't be hat trick. That somehow wouldn't surprise me. Actually, he's bound to score, isn't he? I suppose the ex-Arsenal player kind of curse that we seem to have. And Gary in the chat there says Arsenal always surprises us. Yeah, they do. Yeah, I expect a surprise tomorrow. He says first with a lineup, then with a team play. Last week was a shocker, so tomorrow I hope for the opposite. No, exactly. Yeah, last week was a shocker. And unfortunately, it's one of many shockers this season we've had to put up with. But let's hope it is the opposite tomorrow. I'm not 100% confident that it's going to be. Shane says there, I think it must be ESL will light a fire under Everton. Oh, you must be an ESR. Sorry, yeah, Emma Smith Rowe will light a fire under Everton, but likewise the protest should with Arsenal players. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how much the protest. How big it is for a start and what effect that has, and does it affect the players' preparations? I know obviously the Chelsea fans stopped the bus coming and all that, didn't they? Which probably isn't ideal preparation for a game for the players. So I don't know whether that's what Arsenal fans are planning or whether it's just going to be literally outside making their feelings clear about the owners, which is probably the best thing to do. It isn't the players, is it? You don't need to stop the bus coming into the ground. Obviously Kroenke's not going to be there, is he? So, but maybe a protest on that lines would probably be better. Going to 70 there says, I agree with the training, but we can see what happens on the pitch. Well, yeah, we can, yeah. So we only have that to base our judgment and opinion. No, exactly, we do. We don't see what goes on. But yeah, if we see a player like Willian, for example, who's played poorly for 10, 11 games in a row, no matter how good he is in training, surely at some point you've got to think, well, he's not doing the business on the pitch and the game when it matters. So, but baffling. But anyway, that's what it is. And I suppose we just get to accept that now, don't we? I mean, what do you think he'll do tomorrow, Melvyn? Because obviously we have got the European game on Thursday. I know it's a long way off, nearly a week away. So he doesn't need to rest players, but do you think he will?
Yeah, he probably will rest players. I mean, I've got to a point now, I don't care who he picks. It was such a horrible thing, that Fulham game. It really was disappointing.
Yeah, it was.
And I just can't get any enthusiasm up. It's like I've lost a little bit of enthusiasm the last week. Not just the Fulham game, more so what's gone on the last 40 72 hours. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's really like set me back. I mean, like I said somewhere on Ryan's channel, it's like we've got the V missing from the Arsenal. That seems to be taken away, hopefully short term. We're not, we're supposed to be the classy team, not the team, sorry, the classy club. You know, what would Dennis Hill would be thinking now? You know, it's really disappointing. You know, you used to go to Arsenal, Highbury, and you felt a bit of, it felt great. It was lovely community, and you felt this was a special place. It was like, if going to church, if you like, you know what I mean? It's like something like, even though you're not religious, it was your religion going to the Arsenal. Now it's, I don't know what it is. It's just like, it's Arsenal Incorporated, isn't it now? It really is. And it's, what team will he pick? Well, it'll be Leno in goal, I suppose. Will he play Bellerin? He might do Holding, Gabriel, and he play Jack at left back again, I think. Midfield, he'll probably do Ceballos and Partey. Then the four up front, or four in front of the midfield, if you like. He probably will do Pepe. He's got to play Martinelli. I don't think he's got any choice, has he? Not that I'm happy about it. I want Martinelli to play. I cannot see he could make a choice of not picking Martinelli. Ideally, I'd like to see Balogun play, but that ain't going to happen, I wouldn't have thought. So Martinelli, Pepe, he'll probably play William tomorrow. With Saka. That's what I think that type of team would be. Something like that. It's a little bit of wishy-washy, I know, but as I say, I haven't got the enthusiasm. I haven't given it much thought, to be honest with you, because I've forgotten we got a game tomorrow night. You know, it's just like on the back burner, isn't it? That game. It doesn't seem to matter. The game tomorrow is like, it's not as important as what's going on with the club. So,
I agree. And this week has maybe brought everything into focus. I mean, it makes me maybe a little bit. I look at it and I think to myself, a lot of Arsenal fans are suddenly saying, "Oh, we're not going to buy stuff from the club. We're going to boycott this. We're going to do that." Just because of what's happened this week. But these have been owners at the club for what, 10 years or so they've been at the club. And we've seen what they're about. This isn't anything new. So all these protests should have happened 5 or 6 years ago. Everyone was, but I remember I went to a protest march at the Emirates, would have been about 2017, right, which was supposed to be about getting the owners out. And it ended up being a Wenger out rally, all drummed up by all the AFTV people, right? And I'm thinking that's not what this should be about. And I just walked away from it because I'm thinking I'm not going to be a part of that, because getting Wenger out wasn't what we needed to do. Getting Arteta out now isn't what we really need to do. Yes, I don't think he's necessarily the right manager to take us forward, but the problems are deeper than that. And, if everybody could focus on, if we'd focused on this 5 or 6 years ago to get Kroenke out there, maybe it might have had more of an impact. I think it's too late now, personally. And I don't think, as you could see from what he said today, they've got no intention of selling. The protest tomorrow, as great as it's going to be in terms of getting the fans together again, I don't think it's going to serve the purpose that we want it to, because I don't think it's going to make any difference to whether he sells the club or not, just because the fans aren't happy. He knows the fans aren't happy quite clearly, and he doesn't care because he's known that for a long time. But I just felt as though maybe as a fan base, we got tied up in the wrong things. And I went to that march a few years ago and it was a total waste of time because it ended up, it was just Wenger out. And I'm thinking, what's the point in that? At that particular time, we needed to act to get the owner out. But there you go. And we're left in the situation that we find ourselves in now, where it's all come to a head when this has been going on for a long time. I mean, like you said about Dennis Hillwood, right? And the Hillwood family who ran this club since, the 1930s or whenever it was, the 1920s, steeped in history, and they understood what the club meant. And, since that's finished, and, we've had a comment there from Guna 70 about David Dean as well. He says, just feel ever since David Dean left and we left Highbury, it was the beginning of our decline. Yeah, it was. And David Dean you think David Dean joined the club in 1983 when we'd been going nowhere for a few years, drifting along. He came along and suddenly within a few years, we were winning trophies and we had a period of success that lasted. Funny enough, he left the club in 2007. And, from pretty much from when he joined to when he left, that was our greatest ever period of success in the club's history. And you can't tell me that's a coincidence. Yes, we had 2 or 3 different managers in that time, but they all had sustained success. And the reason for that was because the club was running the right way. It was ran where the team on the pitch was the first priority and everything else was secondary. And that's why we had the success that we did. And unfortunately, David Dean was a big driver in the Premier League. Don't let's put that aside. And David Dean would no doubt now he'd be pushing for a European Super League. I'm sure he would, because he mentioned about it when he was at the club, the possibility of that in the future. So I'm not saying that David Dean is, squeaky clean in this, but there's no doubt that he had the best interest of the club at heart and he drove the club on to great success. And yes, the decline has happened quite rapidly since he's gone, and obviously the new owners have come in. So yeah, it's a shame, isn't it? It's but fortunately,
don't forget, Richard, he got Wenger in. Without him, we wouldn't have got Wenger.
Yeah, oh, he did. Oh, he did a lot of great stuff, and I love David.
He did a lot of great stuff to take club. He was amazing. Just going to say hello to Richard. Hi, Richard. Not Richard, someone. Neil. Looking at you. Neil's got a couple of comments in. What's his name? Is Guna70s, Neil.
Oh, is it Neil? Is it? Oh, okay.
From Purely Arsenal.
He agrees with you there. He said, well said, Melvyn, obviously from what you said before.
At least Neil's got my name right.
He has, yeah. And you didn't get his name right, but never mind. We'll let you. It's been a tough week. We've all struggled.
Tough week.
Actually, Neil there says, he said, honestly, if this Super League went ahead and it still could, well, I think it still will eventually. It's almost is, isn't it, with a new Champions League format anyway. And we were expelled from all domestics. I would have stopped my support. No, me too. I said that earlier in the week.
Yeah.
Without domestic competition, without those 38 games in the league, if we wasn't in there, I've got no interest in it. I've got a very little interest in European football anyway, and I suffer it when we're in it because it's us and it's a trophy, and we haven't won enough of them. But yeah, he says as well, more importantly, we were competing. Well, yeah, we were competing. Unfortunately, not anymore though. That seems to be where we're at the moment. And even when Wenger had no funds for players, he still got top four consistently. He did, yeah. And he was ridiculed for it. Yeah. And now top four is a holy grail. Exactly. Be careful what you wish for. That's what I say. When there was all that Wenger out stuff we went through, and I hated it because, yes, I don't think there's any doubt he was reaching the end of his career at Arsenal and he needed to move on. But the way that the fans were about it all was just not right for me. And yeah, I don't know. I just didn't like that at all. And like we said, everyone said,
wasn't it?
It was, yeah. And everyone says, I
wanted it to go. Don't get me wrong. I wanted it to go, Richard. But the way it was done, the way that people were on social media were going to go, it was so disrespectful.
Yeah, no,
we were lucky. We saw that is the best football we're ever going to see as an Arsenal supporter.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
we were lucky and we were blessed to have had
very lucky to see that.
Yeah, we were, and I'm just grateful that I was at the age where I could appreciate it and see it and witness it and be there to experience it. And I'll always be grateful to Arsene Wenger for that. And I never once said Wenger out or anything like that. Yes, he frustrated me sometimes, and we lost games, and you'd get the ump afterwards and that. But ultimately, I would never have done that because of the respect and what he gave us. And he deserved that respect, and he never really got it, I suppose. But ultimately, exactly what Neil says there about the top four. Wenger was ridiculed, wasn't he, for finishing the top four every year with what I believe is a worse group of players than we've got at the moment a lot of the years, and he still managed to do it year in, year out. And now we would love to be back in the top four, wouldn't we? Do you know what I mean? We would absolutely love it. So it's just funny how things kind of go in circles, in cycles, isn't it? And obviously Neil says, yeah, it is me, Neil. He says he hopes to return to Twitter soon.
Good. That's great.
And he says as well, Neil says, I wanted him to go, but more for his health and sanity and to spare him from those of our so-called. But no, exactly. Yeah, you could see it was affecting him towards the end. And he maybe did stay a little bit too long for himself as well. I think we all understand that. And it was just a shame the way it all ended, actually, because, maybe he should have gone after the 2014 FA Cup win, maybe ended the trophy drought. That would have been a maybe good time to go. But I think he thought there was more to come from that group of players. The season after we won the cup again, we had a great second half of that season. We should have maybe done better that season. The season after, of course, was the season Leicester won the league. We should have maybe won the league that year. And I think he could sense there was more in that team. He just wasn't able to get it over the line, was he? And maybe in the end, he stayed too long for that reason, perhaps.
You know what's quite funny, Richard? In the barren years, like 2008 onwards, looking back to see some old games, we still played some fabulous football.
Yeah.
All right, we weren't winning the leagues or cups, but some of that football was off the radar. And what let us down, we played away at the Bournemouth of this world or up north on a cold Wednesday night, and it didn't seem the players were trying. That's not necessarily his fault. And it's such a shame because the talent was there. It was definitely there. And the team was really, even though we weren't winning things, it was in his own image. It was still the Wenger way. And that's a shame as well. You forget how good the team was that didn't win anything.
It was actually, and in a way, right? It's, you know, you can see how the football's evolved since Arsene Wenger went, obviously under Unai Emery initially, and now under Arteta. The way that football's changed, and the way that we play football's changed, and you can see the difference in it. And I think that maybe for a lot of people, and myself definitely included, is I haven't been able to enjoy the football since Arsene Wenger's gone to the same level, because the football's not as enjoyable to watch. And I can accept sometimes that, you know, it's more tactical now, it's played a different way, a different pace of football to what it was, and the way that Wenger played it. And I just haven't been able to get my head around that very well. And I struggled right from the very first, you know, the very first game of Unai Emery, looking at Arsenal on that pitch that day against Man City, looking at it thinking, what on earth is this? Because it didn't look like it didn't make sense to me. And even though we had a good run under Emery and we played some good football at times, I still looked at it and I was confused because it wasn't what I was used to. And I think maybe a lot of people felt like that. And, you know, in the end, of course, that didn't work. And now we've got Arteta. And again, sometimes, you know, I look at the football and I'm still confused because it's not Arsenal. And I want us to play like we played under Wenger with better players that we've got now. And I want us to do that. And I don't know when I'll lose that, because that football was so good. And even, like you said, even in the years that we wasn't competing for the league, we were still finishing top four. But even in those years when we wasn't doing particularly well, the football was generally good, wasn't it? It was good to watch. And you could enjoy the games usually. And yeah, there was obviously some poor ones as well. Of course there was. Let's not try and pretend there wasn't. 6-0 defeats and all this, that, and the other. But ultimately, in between all that, there was some great football. Whereas now, we're still getting poor results. And even when we play well, it's not as enjoyable to watch, is it? Very rarely is it that enjoyable. I don't. The football that we play isn't as good to watch. I don't think it is.
You know what's quite funny, Richard, also, is that the last season, when we really played well, we had some fantastic games. You remember them because there's few and far between. Years ago, every game was like exciting, things were happening. Nowadays, when we do play well, we go, oh, fantastic. It's like manna from heaven, because we're not used to it. That's the problem. We used to watching games. Not every week, but on the majority of the football, the majority of the games, we were being entertained. Like I said, even when we weren't winning. But now, we got a Fulham game. I can name some other games this season. It's just like, you're looking at you're going, only 20 minutes to go. What a shame. I wish it was over. You really want that game to be over, right? Yeah. You're only watching it because you just can't get up from your seat, or you're doing a watch-along or something, and you're thinking, well, I've got to sit here. How can I get out Arsenal playing? I've never done this in my life before. And you do genuinely want to get up and make yourself a cup of tea. And it's so disappointing. It really is. And all this thing about the first 20 minutes of the game, we don't seem to be getting anywhere normally. We're slow starters again. And you're thinking, why are we slow? Just get on with it. Take the handbrake off. We're too frightened about giving away a goal. We should be good enough that if we are unlucky enough to give away a goal, I'm not saying we will, we can do something about it. You know, it's like we're frightened of our own shadow to a degree against teams that are not that particularly good, particularly so good. So it's a real downer for me. It really is. Every game I watch for the Arsenal, before the game, I'm excited. Even tomorrow night, I'm not going to watch it live because I've got the family over. And normally I'd watch it, family or no family, you know what I'm saying? Tomorrow they're coming over. We don't see them that much now, obviously. They're coming over. We're going to have something to eat, and that might go on after the kick-off. I'm going to record the whole game, and when I'm ready, when they go, I'll watch it without knowing the score, right? I would never normally do that. But then again, the beauty of that is, Richard, I can flick through. If it's a lousy game, I can flick through it. I never normally do that. Yeah, but it's so unentertaining. It's so back-footed, like. It's you know, it's disappointing. And let's hope he gets it right. Let's hope he does get it right, because I won't be able to take too much more of it the next couple of years if it continues like this.
No, I mean, I've been thinking quite a lot recently, actually, watching some of the games, and like I agree with you that they've not been very entertaining or enjoyable. The odd one or two every so often, but not very many. And it's almost like even some of the worst games under Arsene Wenger were more enjoyable than some of the best games under Arteta in terms of the football. And that's a sad state of affairs, really, isn't it? You know, it is. And I don't know how I can change how I feel about that. It's just the football is not the sort of football I enjoy watching. And the weird thing is, you know, when Pep first came to Manchester City, the first couple of years he was there, obviously Arteta was working with him. And Man City were winning games every week and, getting 100 points in the league, all this kind of stuff. I didn't enjoy watching Man City play. I didn't enjoy that style of football. And that's just me, maybe because, like I said, all those years of Wenger football, maybe, I don't know. But I always found it quite slow. And then Man City would play slow, then quick, score 4 goals, and then slow for the rest of the game. And I didn't enjoy that. And I've never enjoyed it. And we're now playing that football, obviously nowhere near as effectively because we don't have the players. And that's probably why I don't enjoy watching Arsenal as much now as I did, for that reason, because we basically become a very, very poor version of Manchester City, which I didn't enjoy watching when the good Man City version at the time. So, and I don't enjoy watching them now. Neil's said there, he says he was loyal, obviously meaning Wenger. He really wanted the club to succeed. No, exactly, he did. I bet personally for him, his disappointment was not winning the Champions League. Yeah, no, I would say it was, and I think that's all our biggest disappointment actually, because that was our one opportunity, wasn't it? Neil again says, defo we saw the best football under him without a shadow of a doubt. He says he revolutionised football, completely turned it on its head. Don't forget, he rejected lucrative deals from the most glamorous club. That's like, he did, yeah. Real Madrid was one he turned down, didn't he? Amongst others as well. And Neil says again there, we were certainly spoiled under him. We most certainly were. And we're realising that now, I think, more so than ever. I think a lot of people that maybe were shouting for Wenger out probably now maybe feel a little bit silly because what we've had to watch since. I know we've won the FA Cup, but even so, it's not been great to watch. And Neil again says our biggest competitors, unfortunately, are ourselves. Yeah, no, exactly. I still believe we have a squad good enough to be doing much better. No, totally agree with that. I think we definitely have got a squad that should be doing. I think we've got a top 4, top 6 squad, actually, top 6 squad maybe at a push. And we should have been challenging in the top 6 and challenging for the top 4 with this group of players. I don't believe that was too much to expect, actually. And Neil says, yeah, spot on, Rich. Entertainment value has significantly declined. It has, unfortunately. It's a shame. And Neil again says, Alan Hansen said, our best team under Wenger was the best team he's ever seen, and that's coming from him. Well, no, yeah, he did. And obviously, a lot of people have said the same at the time. Unfortunately, since though, it seems as though Arsene Wenger's best team now has been apparently overtaken by Liverpool and Man City from recent years, but I'm not having that at all. I don't believe anybody's played football like the best Wenger teams did. I don't think anybody has, and I don't think anybody will, because football has changed now. And Klopp's Liverpool are a good team to watch sometimes. Don't get me wrong, I've enjoyed watching them at times, but it's nowhere near the football Wenger plays. I'm sorry, I'm not having anybody say otherwise. Gary from DWTT says Arsenal is underachieving, almost certainly. The players don't believe pulling on that red shirt lifts them to the next level. Yeah, I think that's partly it. And also as well, I feel maybe partly they're not motivated enough from inside. The tactics, I don't think they believe in the tactics enough. I don't know. There seems to be something missing. I don't think it's just the players themselves. Yes, it obviously comes from the players, but I don't know. Do they not believe in what they're being told? Do they not believe in the football that we're being asked to play? I don't know. It doesn't seem as though they do at times. I don't think. Look at that Fulham game last week as an example. They didn't look like they believed in what they were doing, and this happened loads of times, isn't it? Lots and lots and lots of times. The home game against Slavia Prague, the home game against Olympiacos. So many recently as well. Liverpool.
You can reel them all off, can't you? Just reel them off.
Yeah, and unfortunately, a lot of people say, "Oh, we've improved since Christmas and this, that, and the other." Yeah, I suppose we have, but that was only bearing in mind how terrible we were.
Christmas, we were relegation fodder. Christmas, we had to improve.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not a good level to start from, is it?
No, exactly.
Before Christmas.
Exactly, and you can look. Some of these poor performances that we've had in the last 6, 7, 8 weeks are just as bad as the ones before Christmas. It's just because they've now been. We occasionally have a decent performance, Leicester away, for example, or Slavia Prague away, or we throw in one of them, don't we? So it maybe makes the terrible performances around it don't seem as bad. Before Christmas, it was just terrible performance after terrible performance and nothing to ease it. At least now we're throwing in the odd good one, which in a way makes it worse for me because I'm thinking, why can't we do that more? Why can't we do a Slavia Prague away more? Why can't we play like Leicester away more often? And that's what makes it worse, maybe. I don't know.
What about Jekyll and Hyde? That's what we are.
Well, yeah, exactly. We are. That's exactly what we are. Neil says, yeah, Liverpool and Man City are excellent, but our team was better, and that's not biased. I've had hardcore Liverpool fans agree with that. I mean, I think it is a little bit biased with me, maybe. I don't think I'll ever see a better team than the great Wenger side, but I don't know. I personally, it's what people enjoy, I suppose. The football, I enjoy watching that football, and I don't enjoy watching much football these days to the same extent. You know, even Liverpool, Man City, well, Man City particularly, I don't enjoy watching them at all. And I think Chelsea, if you look at Chelsea under Tuchel as well, like now, they're quite dull to watch, aren't they? They're very organised and they know what they're doing, but they're quite dull to watch, aren't they? There's not many Chelsea games I've looked at and thought that was a good game. They kind of get
like
results.
It's a computer game now. Football is like a computer game.
Yeah, no, it is. It is, and it's a shame. It really is, because, you know, and I think VAR has contributed to that as well. I mean, I say we did have these comments earlier from Peter, the Everton fan. He was talking about the offside. Let me try and find them, actually. He says here that they should also speed up the process of being semi-automated offside to get rid of these stupid VAR offside. No, we exactly agree with that. He says a semi-automated offside uses 3D mapping to map out players' entire body and track their movements in the game, and it guarantees more accuracy with the offside lines because the computer put them down. I mean, that's interesting, actually. I don't know whether that would be an improvement or not. That would maybe make it a little bit more robotic, maybe, wouldn't it? Perhaps, I don't know, but I suppose at least the decisions would be more accurate. But is that the problem? You know, the VAR lines maybe are making it too accurate a little bit, perhaps. He says there as well, Peter, that it notifies linesmen immediately as well because it catches an offside instantly, and they have a wristwatch which will light up red to indicate offside. Yeah, that's sort of like the VAR, the over the line technology, isn't it? I suppose in a similar sense to that. I'm not sure if I would like that, actually. I'm not sure if I would. What do you think, Melvyn? Would you like that or not? That's going to a computer game.
No, it's a computer game again, isn't it? It's all about a computer. Yeah. No, I think I reckon sometimes VAR is given. They put the VAR up, and none of the players on the defence actually are appealing for it. They think it's a goal. And all of a sudden, they get a lifeline. If they're going to do it, I reckon they should be alert, the players. And if they want to have a challenge, they're allowed 3 challenges a game. Other than that, VAR don't come into it at all.
Well, no, maybe the manager picks the challenges, I reckon.
Or whatever, yeah, something like that. You've got 3 challenges, like cricket. You've got 3 goes, and that way, if it's by a hair's breadth, the players aren't going to know that, are they? They're not going to take that chance. It's like with an LBW in cricket. Sometimes they think it's close. It might be. They go, no, I'm not wasting it on that. And I think football's got to do something like that, because to cheer for a goal, or you can't cheer for a goal actually, and then it's ruled out. You've got to wait a minute or two, which seems like half an hour. Like I said, like I put out there once, I went, I've learned not to celebrate a goal until I get a confirmation email come to me. Then I know it's a goal. You know, you've got to wait that long. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous. And you get goals disallowed and you think, well, they're looking at VAR. I don't understand what they're doing, what they're looking at. And they come up with something else has gone just beforehand that you've missed or not even thought about. It's too clinical that way. You know, I'd rather, you know, going back with the rather go back. I think this goal line technology is fine because that's 100% yes or no. When you're talking about something that it's a matter of opinion, once you put it to VAR, then all politics come into it. You know that the referee is going to be more than likely, when it's an opinion, because some of the decisions are opinions. When it's an opinion, then I think the referee gets, the people on VAR take the referee side. I think. I really do think that when it's to do with a certain opinion. I would prefer also, you can't change the result, but I've said it for years, retrospective punishment for players diving and stuff like that, when it's actually proved this geezer's got down, nowhere near. Sometimes the referee just plays on. I can understand if VAR slips.
Shouldn't VAR be dealing with that now?
Well, I don't trust it though, Richard. I don't trust VAR. The people out there don't. Because they're going to go with a ref. I just don't trust them.
We saw last week, didn't we, that Fulham game, that penalty they got. I mean, that was clearly a dive, and you know, VAR still gave it as a penalty. So I guess maybe we can't rely on VAR. Yeah. Gary says that offside should use the daylight rule since it allows for some human error. Humans can tell players offside by a toenail. No, exactly, you can't. If VAR offside, that is, yeah. And Neil says, yeah, that's what I've been saying, Melvin. Each team gets 3 challenges per game. They do it in tennis and cricket, like you said. No, exactly. I think, yeah, maybe the manager should decide whether or not he thinks it was a little bit iffy. Shall we appeal that one? Like you said, Melvin, or wait. Imagine half them goals that's been disallowed wouldn't have been disallowed, would they, if that was the case?
Exactly.
Teams wouldn't have appealed against them. They wouldn't have appealed against them. Neil says, goal line technology is great. Being called offside for a bloody toenail is ludicrous. Yeah, it is. But having said that, I mean, the goal line technology failed in the Aston Villa game last season, didn't it? Which kept them up. But anyway, I suppose, it's every technology is going to fail, isn't it? Like, technology always fails, isn't it? Gary says, VAR reviewed offside. Should use the daylight rules. Oh, we said that one before, actually. No, I mean, the daylight rules, I don't know, because that's almost you're too far offside if there's daylight, aren't you? Maybe, I don't know. It needs to be clear and obvious. It was brought in for clear and obvious mistakes, and that's what it should be for me, clear and obvious. And if you need to draw lines on the pitch, it's not clear and obvious, so just give the goal, because it should be.
I don't even think those lines are straight sometimes. I think they look like a crooked angle. They don't look right. You look at it from one angle, the thing is offside. Then you see this line drawn, and you go, no, it's not offside. Where they draw that line from? Is it a dodgy ruler or something?
If you've got a curved telly, though, it's not going to be straight, is it? So you're never going to see it.
I watch all my games on the radio.
Well, there you go. Yeah, exactly. It's the best way.
That's why I get it a bit fuzzy sometimes. I get a bit confused.
It's the best way on the radio. Yeah, no, it's crazy. The whole thing's crazy, yeah. And actually, it has spoiled. It's one of the many things in recent times that spoiled the enjoyment of football, I think. And well, no, I think it spoiled the enjoyment of football for people that enjoy football for what it was. People that just want it to be a TV show, it's probably improved it for them because they're not that bothered, because it's probably adds to the drama maybe for the TV audience, or it adds to the accuracy of it all. But I don't like it, and I don't think any real football fans like it either. I don't know. For me, it's done nothing but harm and spoiled, taken away. I mean, I said the other day, it's taken away the emotion out of the game for me, and that's one of the biggest things, isn't it? The emotion of football, emotion of a goal. Without that, it's nothing really. Neil says, agree, goal line is not infallible, but it's certainly better than VAR, without a shadow of a doubt. There's only about one mistake with goal line technology I can think of. There's probably a million VAR mistakes that we've seen.
Do you think going forward, say 5 or 10 years, that it might be that people like us, who's here tonight on the chat, or us, will not watch football, and you'll have new supporters coming, they just want to see the clinical game? Because we have people coming through, Richard, that's never been to a ground when it was buzzing and get the excitement, the adrenaline pumping. So they don't know any different. And you'll get a load of supporters coming through, and there'll be millions of them on the TV with TV rights that will just want that to happen, want more of the VAR, because as you say, it adds to the entertainment value. For me, it doesn't. I hate it. No. But for people that don't understand what it's like to get up and score and go mad and cuddle the geezer next to you, even if he's 6'8" and whatever, you've never seen him before. I've met a few nice guys out. No. What's that is, to do that, you would never do that in real life. It's something that you only would do in football. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And to take that away from us, which they have done now, because whoever scores, you're just going to go, well, let's see what happens. And when it is a goal, all you might do is go to the next guy and go, all right, and that'll be it. It's gone. And people that have never done that don't understand how good and great feeling that is.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, throughout the years, it's been nearly 40 years since my first Arsenal game. It was 40 years later this year, actually. And over those 40 years, I've experienced more probably emotions in football, and you can't experience that outside of football. It's not possible. Nothing can happen in your life like scoring a last-minute goal to win the league at Anfield.
Right. That's what I'm saying. That's right.
Nothing can match that. People take drugs and people do all these other stuff to try to get a high. Right? The natural high was from things like that, moments like that in your life that you've experienced at football. And you can't recreate that anywhere else, I don't think. I've found it difficult to. There's not many things in life that can top that feeling that you get, that instant feeling when Michael Thomas put that ball in the net, or Andy Linegan's header at Wembley, or all those Rocky's goal at White Hart Lane, all those moments that you get. You can't if you could bottle that feeling and sell it, you'd be a millionaire. You'd be the richest person in the world. Actually, you'd be able to buy Arsenal 10 times over, because everybody would want that. that feeling, and it's almost like they've taken that away from football now. And like you said, there's going to be, I think there will be a new generation of fans, and I think that's why this Super League idea would work. It would work because millions of fans around the world would love it. The people that wouldn't love it are people like me and you. Oh, the lights are gone again.
No, I know there's something wrong. They get so. My wife spoke to someone today. He's coming round over the weekend. Keep going out. I don't know what it is. The meter's full up. I don't understand it. It will go. Actually, 5 minutes it'll go back on. Honestly, you'll see.
It did last time, didn't it?
God, I look good on the black, don't I? I look good. It makes me look better.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool. You need to get yourself a ring light. You should get yourself a ring light. You haven't got to worry about the lights going out. That's what I do. Neil says there, definitely, Melvyn. We were lucky to have those old school experiences. Yeah, we were indeed. We are now all tuned into drones, androids, programmed to behave cynically. You can see footy turning into. No, I totally agree, actually. And I'd say that's, for me, that's exactly what it is. And I do feel as though in 10 years' time, I think there will be a European Super League. There might not even be a domestic league anymore at some stage because there won't be the need for it. You know, everybody will be playing in the European Super League. They won't care if fans are in the ground or not. It'll be football tourists probably in the ground that are there because they like to experience one game of football in their life to tick it off their bucket list. I've been to a football match now, and it won't be real fans anymore. Football is becoming less and less for real fans. And I think the last year has shown us that even more, hasn't it? You know, without real fans, they don't care. They're not really bothered, are they? Gary says, Melvyn is expanding the dungeon. Lots of visitors tonight. Looks like a busy night there, Gary. You're right. Yeah, it must be a busy night. And Neil says, pay that electricity bill, Melvyn. Yeah, that's you know, what's going
on. It will go on. Don't worry. It will go on.
If you don't pay your bill, that's what happens. And Shane says, each bench should have a monitor and should be able to question VAR once again. Oh, so we have a monitor. Oh, yeah, you have a monitor. Yeah, should be able to question VAR once again. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I'll just let the managers decide if they want to appeal against a certain decision or not. Maybe that might be another way. But they need to look at ways to change it. But they're not going to change it in a way that makes it best for fans. They're going to change it in a way that makes it best for a TV audience, probably. So I don't know, and the sponsors probably as well.
Is that all? I've got my phone going.
Melvyn's lit up again. It's like Blackpool illuminations at Melvyn's house at the minute, but not proper lighting.
Shouldn't have put too much makeup on tonight, should I?
Well, no, you see, when you're live on the internet, though, Melvyn, you need to look your best, don't you? So you can understand.
Exactly.
You know, it's important. Yeah. Neil says, to be honest, even in the Emirates, we started seeing non-fans exactly, just corporate bods getting together for networking because it was fashionable. Exactly right. I mean. Whenever you go to the Emirates now, the ground is full of people that aren't proper Arsenal fans. They're there for different reasons, you know. And it could be it's corporate. It's just because it's like you said, because it's fashionable. Because it's like going to the West End.
Back on.
Oh, there we go.
There will be lights.
The meat has been topped up again.
God damn! What about that? Eh?
That's strange. That it just goes out and comes back on again, isn't it? That's like weird.
I know. It's a bit like my brain.
Very strange goings on in Melvyn's gaff at the moment with the electrics, but anyway, we seem to have power back.
What's the time? Hey, you know what? It's about the same time every night. Honestly,
is it
the same time every night? Yeah. How can it be the same time?
It's interesting, that, isn't it? Maybe it's a ghost we were talking about the other week, Melvyn. Maybe it's them.
Probably, yeah. This is more. There's a bigger mystery this than Arteta's teams he picks.
It's certainly becoming the bigger mystery, isn't it, actually? Because
although
it's not now, is it? Because it's at the same time every night, so it's not really a surprise anymore.
That's true. No, that's true. It's not a surprise. Consistent. With some of our players are so consistent.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, they are. A lot of them. They're consistently poor. But anyway, but yeah, no, it seems like we're getting somewhere with a lighting situation. It seems to be, like you said, the same time every night. That's interesting.
Yeah, around about the same time.
That Spooky. Is very interesting. Yeah, it's spooky. Yeah, bit weird. Gary says obviously towards Neil, corporations at sporting events is terrible. Super Bowl allots 10% of tickets for fans, the rest are covered by business. Well, I mean, the FA Cup finals always kind of been like that anyway, isn't it? The fans get a smaller percentage than all the corporates and all the FA members and all that kind of stuff. So it's been going on for a long time anyway. And Neil says, I don't know if you're a tennis fan. Yeah, I love tennis, yeah. But years ago, they did a fans' day at the final, pushed on to the Monday. That's right, yeah, right after Vigor and Ivanisevic, yeah. It was so dynamic, great atmosphere because of true fans. No, I remember that, yeah. The fans' final, yeah, because of the rain, it got put off to the Monday, didn't it? That was
Did he climb on the roof?
Did
Goran climb up to the special?
Yeah, he climbed up the stand.
He climbed up.
Yeah, when
he was one of the first at that, wasn't he?
Yeah, no, that was a great
I
final.
I went to Wimbledon with two of my pals, bunked off school, got in, and we were standing. We had standing room, and we didn't know that we were standing in front of the scoreboard, right?
So you were on the telly?
So I was on telly, wasn't I?
Wow.
So I watched it in the evening with my father, and every time, because they used to show the scoreboard every other game, not every. Only when they went to change, when they stopped to get a drink or something. Yeah. So every time a drink happened, I turned around and I went, "Well, what do you think of that one? A good game, wasn't it?" He was looking at me. What was it good? Yeah, enjoyed it. Yeah, it's all right. And he put his head back, and I knew he'd already missed us, the camera. So I got away with it. Because he'd have gone mad, my father, if he'd have bunked off school. And I tell you who played, really some old ones. I don't think you would have heard of them. Do you remember Tony Roach?
Yeah.
Clark Gravener.
Don't know him.
Roger Taylor played.
Oh, I remember Roger Taylor.
The British. He was the top British tennis player at the time.
And didn't he play drums in Queen as well? He did all right, didn't he? He played drums in Queen, didn't he?
He couldn't sing though. And
he had a good career, didn't he?
Yeah, good career. Yeah, Ken Rosewall. He played. Watched him play live.
Yeah, I went to Wimbledon. I've been to Wimbledon a couple of times actually. Back in the 1980s, I went when Boris Becker was playing at his height. I saw him play a couple of times, and McEnroe as well. So yeah, I've been to Wimbledon. I love Wimbledon. I love tennis. Yeah,
I love Wimbledon. Love it. Love watching it.
I love tennis. I used to watch all the tennis. I must admit. So yeah, it's great sport, tennis actually, and it's good that other people like tennis as well. We've got a new viewer in, Billy, Everton fan. How you doing, Billy? Good, thanks for tuning in. Please subscribe as well. I mean, we have been talking about the Everton game earlier. I don't know if you was in. We've kind of got sidetracked a little bit by some VAR stuff and a little bit of tennis as well. Neil says here, he calls those tennis players, but he's very young. Yeah, I don't remember seeing a lot of them play. I'm more from the 19 sort of. I remember Bjorn Borg and sort of from then onwards, really, obviously Never Lover and stuff like that. So they're the ones I grew up with, which was great. And Neil says there's a lot of fans can't afford to go now. Exactly. We was mentioned before, Billy, actually, about Goodison Park, and obviously with Everton moving away to a new stadium, and to make sure that you guys enjoy Goodison Park where you still can, because we maybe didn't appreciate Highbury as much as we should have done, maybe, having moved out now. So I think that's important as well. Neil says, so it's my fault you got sidetracked. No, not at all. I could talk about tennis all night, actually, so don't worry about that.
Thanks, Neil. Thanks a lot.
And Gary says, welcome to Billy. Indeed, welcome to Billy, indeed, another Everton fan. We've had a few Everton fans in tonight, which is good. Let me know your score prediction, actually, Billy. What you think of the score tomorrow? You're confident that you might beat us, because obviously your away form's really good and our home form is really poor. So you're confident you can win tomorrow. I know you haven't won away at Arsenal since '96, long time. Only one win in 36 years as well. That's the only one since 1987. So it's about time you maybe won at Arsenal, but hopefully it won't be tomorrow. But yeah, maybe stick your score prediction in the chat. See what you think, how confident you are. Which is actually, we'll move on to that ourselves anyway. We always finish with this. So yeah, we'll look at our score prediction. And I'm a bit like yourself, Melvyn. I wasn't thinking about this game at all, maybe until probably this morning, if I'm honest. And suddenly thinking, actually, we've got a game tomorrow. I maybe need to start thinking about that. And I did a preview video earlier, and obviously doing this now, but I haven't had a lot of time to think about it. I haven't really kept up to date with the team news. I know that Lacazette's not playing and Aubameyang's still out. So what are you thinking tomorrow? Do you think we could actually play well at home for a change, or you thinking Everton's good away form might swing it in their favour?
I think we're going to. I can see us not playing well. Everton most of the game. Everton leading for most of the game, and us a bit like the Fulham game, nicking an equaliser. Not as late as the Fulham one, obviously that was a bit weird. But I can't see us doing it. If they feel like I feel the Arsenal players, I can't see them getting up for it. I really can't. I really don't see us. I just can't get up for the game. I suppose I'm being a bit negative, which is unusual for me. I think one always the best we can hope to achieve tomorrow.
No, I mean, I feel the same as you. I don't think the players will so much, because I don't think that all this stuff that's happened this week's maybe affected them in the same way. It affected them in a different way. But I agree. I mean, now the last thing I'd want to do now is play for Arsenal tomorrow, where I've been feeling about the club this week. Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't be up for it at all. And hopefully the players aren't. I mean, I'm sure I say it would have affected them a different way, perhaps. Neil says it's the best time to beat us. I think, obviously, yeah, you're probably right. If I was an Everton fan, I'd probably be thinking that of all those years of disappointments away at Arsenal, this will probably be the time that's going to change, because it is probably a good time to play us. With all this that's happened this week, with the European game next week as well, I think we're going to be distracted all round. And yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we did lose. I'm hoping that we won't. I mean, in my video earlier today, I did predict a 2-2 draw, actually. I don't know why. I hadn't even thought about it until I got to that section of my video. I had to make a score prediction. I thought I was going to go 2-2, just because, I don't know, I just feel as though that might be the score. I don't know why. I just fancy a 2-2. Maybe that's because Everton drew 2-2 with Tottenham last week. I don't know whether that's part of it. I'm not sure. But it came to my head and I said 2-2. So I'm going to stick with that. And probably be a decent game if it was a 2-2 draw, maybe. But yeah, I'm not confident we'll win. I must admit, I'm not at all.
No, me. It's not at all.
And yeah, I'm a bit like Melvyn. I almost can't be bothered with the game, if I'm honest. I almost can't be bothered with it. I just feel as though the stuff that's gone on this week, it's not over. And anybody that thinks it's over I don't think they're being realistic. It's not over. It's just delayed, and our role in it isn't over. We're going to be big players in this when it does come around again. If it does now, as I say, the new Champions League format looks like it's pretty much their version of the Super League anyway. So I don't know. I'm not looking forward to that. I've got to be honest. I don't like the sound of that, but it is what it is, I suppose, and it's going to happen. But as it
will happen, Richard. It will happen because too much money has been involved. And
it will happen. Yeah, it will happen, and it's a shame.
It will happen.
I don't think football is heading in the direction that I like and that I'm enjoying, and it's a shame. But it'd be interesting actually to know how maybe, obviously, Manchester City at the moment, they could end up winning the treble again, as they did a couple of years ago, and they're enjoying a good season. Leicester enjoying a good season as well, but is football really the same? Is it because Arsenal are not doing so well? Is it because Arsenal had a poor season that it's added to our frustrations and our feeling of despair with it all? Or do you think we would feel like that anyway, even if Arsenal were doing well and were maybe in the top 4, in the top 3, or challenging for stuff? I know we've still got Europe, but I'm not even that excited about the Europa League now. Are you, Melvyn? The semi-final?
No, not at all. No. All it is, it's I think to a degree now, as we're not going to the games as well, it's a bit of, if we win it, it's bragging rights. That's all it is now. That's all it is. Yeah. It's not to win. You want to win a title or a cup for your heart, make you feel good, for so many different things. But as I just said, I don't feel anything anymore. I'm a bit numb, and basically you use it. I mean, I don't have any arguments with supporters from other teams, especially Spurs. I've got them in my family, got friends like that as well. I just don't, those days, no interest. It might have a little joke, but not nasty. You know what I'm saying to you?
Yeah.
And it's like, but it's I don't need bragging rights. But that's all it will be for me, bragging rights. But I'll never use it anyway, because that's not who I am. If Arsenal are better than Spurs, I don't have to have a go at a Spurs supporter. They know, and vice versa, right? You know if they're better than us, Spurs, right? And you can make all the arguments in the world. Your eyes tell you they're better than you, and you know when you're better than them. And all it will be, certain people will use that as a bragging rights. Go, yeah, you may have done this, Spurs. You might have won the League Cup, or we won the European. And to me, that's not what it's all about. But you don't win a title for bragging rights. You win it for other things. And I'm afraid that's all it's going to be this season if we win it. For certain people.
No, I agree. Yeah, it is a shame how it's gone, really. Billy says in the chat there, obviously, Everton fan, he says he feels sorry for you guys. It's not your fault. Owners should be punished, not the club and not the fans. Yeah, no, I totally agree. But I mean, what punishment can you give the owners, really? You know, obviously, to punish the owners, really, the only way you can do it is to punish the club, isn't it? I suppose. And the consequence of that is that the players get punished and the fans suffer as well. And I don't know what the answer is. I don't know the best way to do it. If you do it financially, go on, kick him out.
I had to punish Kroenke, not financially. He's got too much money. He's got to, for a whole year, watch Arsenal every week. After that, he can't take anymore.
No, that'd be a good punishment, wouldn't it? That's a bit harsh.
You wouldn't be able to take that.
Harsh punishment, that.
I know it is, but you got to do these type of things, Richard. I'm sorry. You got to be, you got to be a bit ruthless sometimes.
I was going to say chop both his arms off, but your punishment's far worse.
Of course it is. Yeah, you won't forget that in a hurry, will you? You won't do it again.
No, he won't. He definitely won't do it again. That's for dead certain. But yeah, no, it is a strange one, isn't it? Because ultimately the fans will suffer, because fans always suffer. The club will suffer, and that's just the way it is, unfortunately. I'm fully prepared, actually, for Arsenal to be given some sort of sanctions, whether it's a transfer embargo, whether it's if it's a massive fine. I suppose it doesn't really affect the fans so much, I guess, probably as much. But obviously a transfer embargo does, because we'll be stuck with these same crap players for another couple of years, which won't be good. But yeah, whatever punishment we get, I suppose we're going to end up being punished as well, aren't we? But it's a consequence of what it is. I mean, you know, I don't know what the answer is, and it's frustrating. I still feel, even though it's, you know, Arsenal didn't pull out, Arsenal were forced to pull out. The league hasn't gone ahead in that sense anymore, but I still feel very let down and very disillusioned with Arsenal and with football in general, actually, at the moment. And I don't know what's going to make me be able to turn it around either. I'm not sure what can happen now. You know, winning the Europa League may help, because it is a European trophy. We haven't won enough of them, but I agree with Melvyn. It probably isn't going to be the same. I don't know. I don't know what needs to happen for it to change. I mean, I'm sure I'm not the only one, and I'm sure, you know, Melvin's feeling the same. I'm sure we're not the only people feeling like this at this moment in time. And I'll say, not being able to go to the games doesn't help, because that would be a release. Maybe going to the game tomorrow, shouting and screaming at the players, and that might help. I don't know, but we can't even do that. So I don't know. I'm not sure what the answer is, actually. We'll see. I don't know. Neil says in the chat there, heavily fine the owners out of their own pockets and better still expelling from the club. Yeah, I mean, that would be the ideal solution, to expelling from the club. I'm not sure how they can do that, really. That's out of their remit, isn't it? Because he owns the business, and you can't exactly. I don't know. I don't see how they can do that. Yeah, fine him heavily, but then who's going to be impacted on that? It's going to mean he won't put his hand in his pocket to buy new players. So again, we'll suffer, won't we? So I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I've got to be honest. I don't. And you know, it wouldn't surprise me, actually, if there's no sanctions at all in the end, because the Premier League won't know what to do, will they? They can't relegate all 6 clubs, can they? You just can't do it. It's impossible. They can't relegate.
Despite their face. If they get rid of all 6 clubs, I mean, number one, the television rights will be slashed.
Yeah,
that's number one. And if they are allowed fans back in, no fans will go. Very few. So no.
I don't know. I'll tell you what. If we were in the Championship, I would go to the games. I would, especially away games. That'd be mental. Going to someone in Bristol City. I'd love to go to Bristol City away. I've never been. I went to Bristol Rovers once in the League Cup. I've never ever been to Bristol City. I'd love to go there in a game. That'd be good. There's probably a few teams in the Championship. I'd like to go to Birmingham again. I've been to Birmingham a few times in the Premier League. I wouldn't mind going there again. That'd be a decent away day.
I went there once. They beat us 3-0 in a cup. Horrible.
Yeah, it's horrible, but I'd like to go there again, because I've not been for a few years. So there'd be a few away games in the Championship. Would be good. Barnsley, that'd be a decent away game. I remember when I was in the Premier League, that was a good away day. So
I went to Barnsley. Is that when Overmars scored, wasn't it?
And Bergkamp as well. Got a great goal.
That must be on that goal. Must be on that goal. He scored that terrific goal.
I was right in the front. Yeah, I was on telly that day. I was on telly that day, because I was not right in the front row behind the goal when Bergkamp scored.
So really?
Yeah. Right. There's clips where they show the goal. I'm behind the goal, jumping about when we scored. So that was great. But yeah, so happy days there. So there'll be a good few away games actually in the Championship next season, which should be good. I know I want to be there, of course, because I don't. But you know, you got to try and look at the positives, I suppose, if that's what happens. But yeah, I don't know. Gary says there to confirm owners don't take monies out of team funds. Yeah, but you can't, because how would they be able to check? How would they be able to know that? Can they even do that? Yeah, exactly. I don't know. Stan find Arsenal pick up one goalkeeper in the next 2 transfer windows. Yeah, they might as well just give us a transfer embargo if they're going to do that, mightn't they? And Neil says, "Yeah, great idea. Instead of fining him, making open up his wallet to Arteta for unlimited funds for 4 transfer windows." Yeah, yeah, make it, put a minimum amount that he's got to spend on players in the next 4 years. That'd be a good idea. So he's got to spend at least 200 million every transfer window for the next 4 transfer windows. That should be his punishment. That'd be good, wouldn't it? That'd be a good punishment. Obviously,
I think mine's better. Mine's better.
Yeah, yours is probably better. And also, as well, of course, if that was the case, it wouldn't really be helping the other teams outside the top 6, would it? Because it would make them even less able to compete with us then, if we've got to spend all that money on players, I guess. But anyway, it'd be quite good for us to have a decent team again, maybe. But maybe we'd need a different manager if that were going to be the case. But that's for another day. Obviously, Arteta, we don't want to be nasty to Arteta tonight, because obviously he's playing against his old team tomorrow, and you know it's a big day for him, and we need to support him and hope that he, you know, gets the players up for this game, because you know it'd be a big game for him, as it always is playing Everton, I would have thought. So, you know, we need to make sure that everybody's got their mind focused on the right things at the club tomorrow. But I do feel the protest may be not going to help. But anyway, well, we're not going to help the game tomorrow. I mean, whether it'll help anything overall, I don't know. I'm not convinced it will make a lot of difference, if I'm honest. But anyway, people want to do it. I say good luck to them. I mean, I can't be there tomorrow. I'll take it you're not going, are you, Melvyn?
No, I've got my family over tomorrow.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have gone anyway. You know, good luck to it, but I don't think it'll make a lot of difference. But,
no, I don't.
Get the feelings out. That's fair enough. Get your feelings out there, but no.
Yeah, exactly. As long as everybody does it in the right way, then that's fine, and hopefully they will, and it'll be a success in that sense. But yeah, I don't believe it's going to ultimately make any difference. I mean, Josh said today, didn't he, that they're not selling. They've got no intention of selling. So, you know, I suppose he's not going to come out and say, "Oh yeah, we are selling," is he? I suppose, but no. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But
we can always wish, we can always hope.
Yeah, we can. And but having said that, you don't always get an improvement just because you get a change. And Neil says he didn't want to. It is his prediction: 2-1 to us. Martinelli to score the winner. Well, that's a nice positive way to finish things off, isn't it?
Yeah, 2-1. Like that.
Me and Melvyn, we're both saying a draw, so it's good that you said a win, Neil. So that's sort of given us a little bit more positivity. And yeah, Martinelli win would be great, wouldn't it, as well? I think he could do with a goal. He didn't have his greatest game last week, did he? Missed a few opportunities. So it'd be nice for him to get the goal tomorrow, and hopefully then he can play in the semi-final. He'll get picked in the semi-final as well, because I think he's got a big future, actually. There is some good young players, and we need to maybe focus on that and maybe enjoy them as well. He says, Neil, good. Yeah, that's just big positive. So yeah, okay, you said that. So I'm gonna maybe be swayed that we might win now. And Gary says ESR and Martinelli to score, as they deserve it. No, you're right. ESR certainly does. He's been fantastic. And Martinelli, he's got his goal, didn't he, against Sheffield United? But I say he was a little bit off the game last week. So let's hope he bounces back and has a decent game tomorrow. And hopefully he gets the winner. And if it's 2-1 to Everton, I'm sure Calvert-Lewin will probably score a header, because we're not very good at defending crosses. So that will probably be their goal, I would say. Or maybe James Rodriguez, who of course was in the chat earlier, maybe he might score now. He's popped in to see us, so you never know. And Neil says, take care. Yeah, you look after yourself, mate. Enjoy the game tomorrow. And I say, hopefully you're right. And he says he really enjoyed it. Good. Take care. Much love as always. Yeah, same to you, mate. I say enjoy the game tomorrow, and hopefully you're right, and we win 2-1, and we'll all be feeling a little bit happier with life maybe tomorrow, but we'll see. Let's hope so, because it's not been a good week to be an Arsenal fan. Well, it's not been a good week to be a football fan, if we're totally honest. And it's certainly not been a good week to be an Arsenal fan. And let's hope that we can maybe end it on a brighter note maybe tomorrow with a good performance and a victory. But I'm not confident, but we'll see. We'll say thanks to everyone for watching. Thanks to all you guys in the chat. There's been loads of people in there tonight, actually. It's been great. Obviously, Neil, Thanks for all your comments. Absolutely fantastic. And Gary as well. So Billy, the Everton fan, thanks for joining us as well. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already. Loads of people earlier as well. A lot of people in, so that was all good. And I say thanks to Rose for coming on earlier as well. Make sure you check out her channel as well, Everton Rose on YouTube. Some good stuff there on Everton. So definitely tune in there. I'm sure you Everton fans in the chat would be aware of that already anyway. But just for everyone else, make sure you check that out as well. And yeah, thanks for everyone for watching. So if you haven't done so, please subscribe. I will be doing a watch along of the game tomorrow. I am going to try to get some sort of live streaming from the protest actually. So if anybody is going and you want to pop on your phone, maybe filming a bit of stuff live on the channel, if you want to do that. I did put a thing out on Twitter yesterday, but if you're there and you want to come on live during the protest, with your phone and maybe film some stuff, that would be great, just to give us a bit of a feel for it. That would be really, really good. So if anyone can do that, then let me know and I'll do something live on that. Otherwise, I'll go live with a watch along about 7:45 for the game, and hopefully it might cheer me up a little bit, watching a bit of football and focusing on an actual match rather than all this other stuff that's been getting us all down for the last few days. But hopefully now, so we have got a game to look forward to tomorrow. So let's hope it's a good game, and hopefully it can restore a little bit of faith. Arsenal mentioned, didn't they, the other day in a statement about restoring faith in the club, and a lot of work's got to be done from their end, to be perfectly honest with you. But a little bit of faith may be restored if we play well tomorrow and win, and then obviously get through to the final next week as well. And Shane says, yeah, score, draw. He says, great stream. Thanks, Lazo. Thanks for watching, Shane. Always a pleasure to have you in. And he says, enjoy your family dinner, Melvyn. Come on, you Gooners. Yeah, exactly. Good night all round, mate.
People relaxing your dinner, I know that.
Have a good dinner and watch the game. That's what it's all about, and enjoying family time as well. So yeah, all good stuff. So let's hope we can be a little bit more positive tomorrow. I'm sure we can, and look forward to better times ahead, hopefully, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, it's been a tough week, but it's nearly over. And good thing is that with a game on a Friday night, so I don't generally like Friday night games, but at least it's out of the way. So I've got a weekend to forget a football and do other stuff and live my life. Normally football kind of breaks up the weekend a little bit sometimes and gets in the way. So it's nice maybe this weekend it's out of the way early, and Saturday and Sunday I can forget football and just chill and do other stuff, maybe sit in the garden and relax a bit, and do some enjoyable things rather than the unenjoyable thing of watching Arsenal. But anyway, let's see how it goes. Hopefully a bit of nice weather will be nice as well for the weekend. So thanks very much for watching. So please subscribe, please give it a like, and stay tuned tomorrow night for the watch along, or possibly as well a little bit of coverage from the protest if anybody is able to do that to help us out. It'd be great. Otherwise, I'll see you for the game tomorrow at 7:45. And as always, of course, come on, you Gunners. Come on. Restore our faith and our enjoyment, please. Please, come on. It's not too much to ask, is it?